Hello and welcome to NXTGEN Racing, the home of clean and fair sim racing for all. Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to another round of intense racing action in the one and only NXTGEN Racing Touring Car Championship Season 8, as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing, and powered by Doble Motorcycles. That's right ladies and gentlemen, another week rolls on through, we are only a week away from Christmas, and how about this for an early Christmas present than round 4 of the championship. We have made our way back to Italy today to seal the first half of the championship season in terms of when the mid-season break occurs after this week, and we are here at the one and only Autodromo Nazionale Monza, the Italian circuit, one of the oldest in the world when it comes to permanent road racing circuit, and it is a circuit not to be underestimated. Indeed, when you look at a circuit map of the course, located near the city from which it takes its name, it is a circuit that looks relatively old school in its layout. Multiple extended straights, numerous chicanes and a couple of sweeping medium speed apexes, but all in all it is a circuit which does not have anything too technical on paper until you look down into the depths in which all that information may come about. In the fact that around this circuit, to do well here, you've got to be a master on the straights. But to be a master on the straights and carry every mile per hour to each and every corner, firstly, you've got to find the toe of your rivals. But secondly, you've got to be the master of rotation. Indeed, with many of the corners being chicanes, or alternatively being medium speed apexes, getting back to full throttle as soon as possible is going to be absolutely critical, as indeed, every tenth of a second you spend on the throttle could be worth 2 to 3 miles an hour by the end of an extended straight, and that could be the difference between victory or being under threat and having to battle on the brakes into the final corner sequence to complete the race and perhaps see you miss out on victory at that final checkered flag. As our drivers get ready and set to duel on this 3.5 mile raceway today, we welcome you to this live broadcast on circuit side, available on free media platforms for your viewing pleasure. Firstly, you could be tuning in via the 2 official NXTGEN Racing media platforms, one of which is on YouTube at youtube.com, and search for NXTGEN Racing. And welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via YouTube, including Handsome Stu, looking good as always. Good evening to you, Stu. And also we do have the official broadcast available on Facebook at the official NXTGEN Racing Facebook group, and that's at facebook.com/groups/NXTGEN Racing. And welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via Facebook, including Verano Esports' official account there, and we're wishing the best of luck to the Verano drivers there, no doubt about it, and I'm doing fantastic, thank you Verano Esports, and I hope you guys are doing well and all set for today. And we also do have the unofficial broadcast available on Twitch at twitch.tv/TX141, and welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via Twitch. And well, who is TX141, I hear you ask? Well, allow me to introduce myself as your host and commentator for this season. My name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on, and I will bring you all of your racing action live from circuit side from round 1 through to round 10. But coming into tonight then, our schedule for round number 4 is as follows. Times in Greenwich Mean Time, that's GMT, or Universal Coordinate Time, UTC. And as we can see, in just under 17 minutes time, we'll be going into our first qualifying session, our one and only qualifying session I should add, over the course of the racing today. 15 minutes in duration, due to get underway at 8 o'clock this evening, after which we'll make our way to the grid for the first of our 3 races, all 11 laps in duration, and race number 1 is set to get underway at just gone 8:15. After that, we'll take a brief breather before returning at approximately 9 o'clock for the build-up to race number 2, which will get underway shortly afterwards, and then we'll be taking a brief breather once again before returning at approximately 9:45 this evening for race number 3, and indeed our 12th race of the season, which will see us then head into our mid-season break of 2 weeks to celebrate the Christmas period and New Year's. But as we get set and ready to go racing today, well, this circuit definitely looking to be one. Indeed, it's been a regular on the championship calendar over previous seasons, but it's one where titles have been made or lost in the early stage of the season. But being in round number 4, could it be a mid-season change-up? Well, we're here to find out. As we take a look back at our championship calendar in terms of what's been in the past and what's still lying in wait, well, we've made our way all the way up towards the mid-season break week, and today is the 17th of December. But prior to this, we start off all the way back at Misano in round number 1 on the 26th of November, and the newcomer circuit to iRacing, and indeed to the NXTCC, where it was marvellous Misano, no doubt about that, and indeed quite a lot of magic at Misano as well, with the absolutely mad weather that we had to witness there. After which we made our way from November to December, and on the 3rd of December, we headed to Canada for the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park on motorsport in short, which never let us down. It never has in the past. Now on the 10th of December, the racing action continued to rise the absolute precipice when we made our maiden visit to Portugal for the Autodromo Internacional do Algarve. And well, last time out we got to see there at the Portuguese circuit, the sun was shining and some absolutely terrific results were delivered in all three classes. And more on that very shortly in terms of how the championship stands have been shaken up as a result of the racing at Algarve. But today is round number 4 at the Autodromo Nacional Monza. And after today and after our mid-season break of 2 weeks, we'll be back on the 7th of January 2025 to usher in the second half of the season with round number 5, the first of our feature sprint race combination rounds. And that'll be at the Nürburgring Gesamtstrecke or the Nürburgring Combined, which will see our drivers take on the Grand Prix layout and also the Nordschleife loop in full attack mode. And the German circuit will be playing host on the 7th of January, after which a week later in round number 6 we're making our way to Scotland in the United Kingdom for the Knockhill Racing Circuit. And on the 21st of January we'll head to the Circuit Jules Villeneuve, the Canadian hybrid street circuit, welcoming our drivers, and that'll be a fascinating challenge for them all. After which we'll make our way back to the United Kingdom for the newly arrived on the iRacing simulator platform Thruxton Circuit, the fastest circuit in the United Kingdom. And our drivers are absolutely chomping at the bit to roar their way around there on the 28th of January. And then for our penultimate round we'll make our way to Australia, and that's where we'll stay for the final 2 rounds of the season. First of which on the 4th of February will be the Sandown International Motor Raceway, the home of horsepower, and then we're making our way to the Bathurst Circuit, known in full as the Mount Panorama Circuit, for our sprint and feature showdown round on the 11th of February to wrap up Season 8. Indeed, plenty of rounds still to go, and we've still got an absolutely brilliant round ahead of us today. But speaking of things that are ahead of us, well, let's give you an update on the championship standings after 3 rounds of racing. Indeed, things have been shaken up, and it could mean there's plenty of drama to lie in wait. And starts off with the overall Drivers' Championship. Mikey Doble leads the way. He has moved into the lead, dethroning Jaroslaw Cebula, who has led since the season opener. But it is 14 points to Mikey Doble ahead of Jaroslaw Cebula, with Doble bringing on home an absolutely consistent form of top 10s last time out, including that win in race number 2, which was absolutely critical. Meanwhile, Cebula wasn't quite on the pace in Portugal, albeit a bit of misfortune, and being ushered around in amongst his next-gen racing pink teammates saw him drop some key points. And meanwhile, whilst the battle for the top 2 is going on, Adam Delmont loved to become a part of it in P3, as he's only 2 points ahead of Benjamin McCluskey. Andrew Pike sits in P5, the Sim Racing Collective driver there, stapling himself to the top 5 and looking to move further forward as we say hello to him in the YouTube chat. And behind him is Daniel Downing in P6 at 261 points, and the leading prime driver. Well, after what was round number 3, we are happy to announce, ladies and gentlemen, that he has been promoted to Pro as of this round, so therefore that prime tag will stay with him based on the standings after round number 3. But we've got a number of class changes afoot today, and Daniel Downing has been moved to the Pro class as a result of his absolutely stellar performances, and we'll show you how that shapes up the Prime Class Championship very shortly. But in P7, it's Lee Horn and 260 points, only 1 point behind the Goldwyn Motorsports driver. And then we have Nick Clemens, who's also moved to Pro, given his performances relative to Daniel Downing over the course of the season so far, and he's only ahead of Jamie Dury, the 2-time champion based on result countback, with Ben Altrier completing a top 10. Outside the top 10, it's Dan Mould in P11, 186 points, putting right the wrongs at Motorsport, and indeed bringing home an absolutely brilliant set of results at Algarve. He's ahead of Benjamin Gregory there by the best part of 11 points. And you have Stuart Winess, Gavin Gardner and Matthew Sheraton completing your top 15. 2 points outside the top 15 from one Aztec Racing driver to another, it's Toby Prosser. Then we have Isaac Doble further 4 behind, but ahead of Kieran Smart. And then Sam Van Olst and Reese Watt complete your overall top 20. Outside the top 20, let's not forget about him. Sam Smith sits P21 on 121 points. 14 ahead of William Guthrie, who made his debut last time out and absolutely landed with a brilliant set of results, and will be very eager to continue that run of form today, given how strong he's been performing so far in his previous NXTCC career, dating back to season 2 and season 3. But returning to the grid last time out, well, it was as if he'd never gone away. You could definitely say that, given the pace he brought to the table. Alex Meredith is only a further point behind, and yet to really hit his stride, it would seem, for Meredith, but still more to come, there's no doubt about it. With Andy Fox in P24, they're on 98 points, 3 ahead of Joseph Doble. Then we have the top 30 completed by Alan McCain, Jack Osborne, Sam Bradley, Tom Davidson and Matt Emmons. Outside the top 30, P31 is Wayne Douglas, the third 4 behind Emmons, and he's 5 ahead of Lewis Delmont, with Russell Fowler, Jake Pitt and Josh Brown completing the run to P35, and Josh Brown being your leading what is AM driver there in the overall championship standings. Indeed, he's doing very well to hold on to that P35 spot, given the pressure he's got from a number of drivers close behind him, including Michael Lees and Duncan Rise. And then we can see Eduardo Gonzaga in P38 ahead of James Mazesgal, with Anthony Hilton in P40. Outside the top 40, we've got Marcel Fritsch, P41, our second of our AM drivers, only a point ahead of Jaroslaw Collins, and it's a further point to three-time winner Algarve in class, that is, Kevin Smith. Gabriel Yilmaz in P44 ahead of Lewis Mason, and then we do have to complete the top 50, Jonathan Berry, Gabriel Papaconstantou, Andy Schell, Sammy Ariba, and Sean Doby. The 88 Tech Racing driver on 12 points, 2 ahead of Mark Sykes, who's had absolute misfortune so far, and he'll be hoping there's no more misfortune to beleaguer him today, and indeed over the rest of the season, because it has been a frustrated season so far for Mark Sykes. Joshua Boots sits in P52 ahead of Gilberto Struck. Dylan Hunter, Shane Abbott, Craig Tillotson, Mark Ken in P57, completing what is your points drivers, and then on 0 points, Costa Chatscontinental, Harley Bicknell, and Joe Newman. But the question now is, how does the Pro-Am Championship shape up, given the changes to what is Nick Clemens, also to Daniel Downing, and also Tom Davidson, the Sim Racing Collector driver, being moved to Pro as well. We didn't mention that only a moment ago, but now we can talk about it a little bit more. And as we can see, with the 3 fastest drivers and the drivers who have been deemed as being Pro class drivers now being moved out of the class, what it does mean in turn now, things are taking a different step, and it's Full Tilt Motorsports' Ben Gregory who leads the way by what is there a margin of 20 points. But you could argue it is a bit of a power vacuum, and indeed at any point we could see any of these drivers leap ahead of Ben Gregory, albeit Gregory would like to say something different about it. You have Matthew Sheraton, who is in P2, a point behind him, Stuart Winus for Track Scotland. Reece Watts sits in P4, a further what is there 39 points behind, but don't count him out for JWM Motorsport. In P5, it's Kieran Smart, and the Track Scotland drivers of Winus and Smart really have been the force over the last couple of rounds, and ahead of, well, behind him I should say, is Sam Van Ols, but ahead of Sam Smith. The 2 Sams there vying to get into the top 5, then Toby Prosser, Alan McCain, and Russell Fowler complete your top 10. Outside the top 10, it's 236 points to Lewis Delman. He's 12 off of Fowler, but anything can happen over the course of a given race, let alone 3 races in a round, when Matt Emmons a further 10 points behind, now starting to find some form, albeit you'll see him in the Audi RS3 today, not in the Honda Civic Type R, deciding to change to the Audi, and therefore that means he won't be able to participate in qualifying or what is the starting procedure for race number 1. He'll have to start for the pit lane, not on the grid. Duncan Ryan sits in P13, a distant 26 points behind him. And it's Sam Bradley and Jake Pitt who complete the top 15 of the Pro-Ams. And to round off the top 20, it's Michael Lees, James Masterscow, Anthony Hilton, Gilberto Struck, who's only behind Hilton based on result countback, and then Shane Abbott in P20. But coming from the Pro-Am Championship to the AM Championship, and we have got some changes afoot here in the AM class as well. Well, at the top, there's no change. Josh Brown continues to lead, albeit his advantage has been slashed once again. It's now down to only 9 points ahead of Marcel Fritsch, as a good number of our AM drivers are already starting to find their momentum. How the big name that has risen in the ranks after 3 wins in class at the Portuguese circuit last time out, Kevin Smith, who has launched his way into P3. He is 23 points behind the top 2. Could he perhaps say take the lead if he's able to refine that form from Portugal? Jonathan Collins sits in P4 ahead of Lewis Mason. Then we have Jonathan Berry on 285 points, 14 ahead of Eduardo Gonzaga, with Gabriel Yilmaz, Mark Sykes and Sammy Ariba completing the top 10. And noting there that both Mark Sykes and Sammy Ariba have both been moved to the AM class from the Pro-Am class. Their run of form in the first 3 rounds has seen both drivers demoted down, albeit it's felt as though they would be better off in the AM class there, given their relative pace and their form so far this season. And quite intriguing, given Mark Sykes is our previous AM champion from Season 6, our first ever AM champion, but the form has not been kind to him so far, and that's why he's been moved down there. But then again, all performances will be kept a close eye on, and indeed the administration team will keep an eye on any driver, including Mark himself, and if it's felt as though the performances suddenly do take an uptick, then we may see him move back into the Pro-Am class. Sammy Ariba the same, starts off the Pro-Am class after his debut in round number 1 of Season 8, but form has not been kind so far, and therefore moving into the AM class. But behind him is his teammate, Andy Schell, on 206 points, of the Quartermaster Motorsport drivers there, looking to find a bit more momentum today. And it's Gabriel Papaconstantou in P12 ahead of Sean Doby to complete the AM class championship standings. But going on to the teams championship, last but not least, in terms of the top 10 of the teams championship we'll take you through today, it's NXTGEN Pink who continue to lead the way, the defending champions, leading on 714 points to the 512 of SR with NXTGEN Gold. Indeed, you can see there right now just how much of a lead NXTGEN Pink are starting to build up, albeit it sounds like a lot of points, 202 points, but at the end of the day, that is a round's worth of points, and NXTGEN Pink will know they can't take things easy. SL and NXTGEN Gold, meanwhile, got Doble Sim Racing only 9 points behind, with Goldwyn Motorsport then bringing up the rear behind the top 3 in P4 on 430 points as they try to fend off the charge from Full Tilt Motorsport. The Sim Racing Collective find themselves previously in no man's land, but now find themselves in a full confrontation and hold on to P6 versus iRacing Esports. 4 points between those two teams, and let's not forget NXTGEN Orange Whiskey Runners have also been brought into this P6 fight. They're only a further, what is 6 points behind. Aztec Racing iRacing are closing on the top 6 battle, and they're on 307 points, and they're the best part of 17 ahead of Track Scotland, with a pair of Smart and Winers continue to keep the Scottish team comfortably inside the top 10. But coming to our circuit for today, well, our host circuit, of course, is the Autodrome National Monza, and we're running the Grand Prix layout without the first chicane. That means we do not have the Rettifilo chicane, and instead of having what will be the grand total of 11 corners, we only run 9 corners of this circuit located in the periphery of Monza City in the Lombardy region of Italy. Thank you to iRacing as always for the circuit maps they provide and to their brilliant simulator. And this circuit map, well, it's one that is going to be most likely embedded in many of the minds of a major motorsporting fan in the fact that this circuit looks straightforward on paper, but it's far from easy. As our drivers roar the way down the start-finish straight, they'll make the way through Curva Pisano or Curva Grande at turn number 1, absolutely flat out all the way through, heading upwards of 150 miles an hour in the toe of their rivals before they head into the first area braking zone at what is known as the Seconda Variante, or what is also known as the Regia chicane, and that'll be turns 2 and 3. They're hard on the brakes, they'll go, coming down to first and second gear as they trape their way over the apex curves, managing the sausages before they roar their way up towards the Lesbos at turns 4 and 5. Lesbo 1 is a more open corner, carrying a bit more speed compared to Lesbo 2 at turn number 5, where it's a much higher apex curve, and indeed our drivers need to be careful, as otherwise they may be forced off circuit with a bit of understeer. But get it right, they'll charge their way down the Seraglio straight and in towards the Ascari chicane, the third of the chicanes at the circuit if the full rear layout is run, but the second of the chicanes for today. In the medium speed chicane, we'll see our drivers very quickly go left, right, left through the turn 6 through to 8 complex. Flat out of 8 they'll go down towards Parabolica to complete the lap before they do it all over again. But of course they need to nail that late apex of Parabolica correctly, as it's a medium speed corner which could unlock a whole load of speed onto the start-finish straight and enable them to fend off their rivals in the run down towards turn number 1 on the next lap. As for our rules, a quick reminder, this is a fixed setup series with setups provided to each of our drivers ahead of each and every race and round. Driver classes have now been finalised as the conclusion of round 3, and we'll give you all the specific updates on the class changes shortly, with the sprint race rules as follows. The race 1 grid shall be set based on results of qualifying, the race 2 grid based on results of race 1, so whoever wins race 1, they start and pole for race 2, and we work the grid order accordingly based on results of race 1, and the race 3 grid, as always, shall be a partial reverse grid based on results of race 2, with the reversal position being drawn live from the commentary booth between P13 and P23. Each driver shall have 1 fast pair available in each race, and each race shall conclude after either the allotted lap amount of 11 laps or 30 minutes, whichever expires first. And on top of that, we do have race stewarding in effect, with an independent race director stewarding the races for track limit infringements and the deployment of the safety car, and we can see the penalties there for track limit infringements, where by the first and the second infringements there's no penalty, but as you get to your 5th warning, you can maximise it with a drive-through penalty that must be served within 3 laps of being awarded. Meanwhile, all race incidents between drivers will be reviewed post-round. We also do have our success ballast in effect, and it's applied on a race-by-race basis overall in the Pram and Am classes, whereby it's based on the championship standings going into qualifying in race 1. We update it based on the results of race 1 for race 2, and we do the same for race 3 based on the results of race number 2. And, well, we do have 1 new driver on the grid today, but he's not new to the NXTCC. He's in the Am class, and that will be William Kurtler. But if we did have any newcomers, they would take a newcomer success ballast, but that's not to be today. And there's all the success ballast values in the table. If you do want to pause the broadcast to get those noted down and make a note of who's going to be carrying all the way into qualifying in race number 1, well, you're welcome to do so, ladies and gentlemen. But for us here, it's enough about rules and regulations and everything in between. We need to head back to track side, and as we do, well, the circuit right now absolutely packed with drivers out there getting their final practice and warm-up laps in, and it's quite appropriate that we do find Alex Meredith on our cameraman's focus here, the NXTGEN Orange Whiskey Runners driver who missed last week at Portugal due to personal circumstances. All was okay, he just couldn't quite get away from work in time. We're very happy to see the number 19 driver back today in the infamous Hyundai Elantra N. Indeed, a car that's gone so well for him in his NXTCC career. He's never become a champion in a given class, but he's definitely picked up multiple race wins in the Pro-Am class in previous seasons. And well, could today be the day in the Pro class that he perhaps picks up his first ever overall win as a Pro driver? Well, we'll have to wait and see. But as we do say hello there to also Andy Rudy and Andrew Chell in the YouTube chat, and also to Sean Dobe, who advises that he can't make today at Monza due to the flu, and he's gutted to have missed Monza, I can tell you that, and we're gutted not to have the 8 Tech race driver on the grid today. It's always a good day when you see Sean Dobe out there representing in the Am class. Well, Sean, I hope you do feel better soon, and well, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we do have just a minute or so before we do go into qualifying, and given we have a little bit of time, I think it's only appropriate we try to grab a word with one of our drivers, and in fact, I think we're going to try and grab a word with this man, Dylan Hunter for DH Racing, as he makes his way on around. And you may be wondering, isn't that a name that we saw in the chats previously with regards to the YouTube chat? Yes, we did. In fact, I think it was in the Facebook chat, and we watched round 1. I think he watched round 2 as well, and then decided to jump on the grid for round number 3. And well, let's see if we can get a patch through to the car of Dylan Hunter with a minute left in this practice session. And well, as we do jump inside the car here, we are going to try and grab a word with Dylan. And as we try to grab a word with the man from the United States of America, good evening to you, Dylan. Have you got a quick second for a chat?
Yeah.
Dylan, it's great to have you on the grid, and we were just saying moments ago, you tuned into the opening couple rounds of Season 8, and that was enough to make you want to be on the grid. On the grid last time out of Portugal, looked as though it was a tough round, but plenty of points on the board for you at Portugal.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this league looks like a great amount of fun. Learning the TCRs, trying to carry momentum.
All about momentum-based racing, and plenty of that here today at Monza. I mean, it's going to all be about the slipstream, but have you set yourselves any targets for today?
Not to be last.
Oh, that's a fair one. Well, with that, Dylan, we're going to leave you to it because qualifying's about to get underway, but best luck for tonight.
All right, thank you.
Grabbing a quick word there with Dylan Hunter, our DH racing driver, and well, I think trying to focus on getting those lap times in as well as trying to talk to us there. But to be fair, I think a lot of our drivers sometimes struggle with the multitasking, but good to hear from the number 26 driver. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for qualifying. Place your bets. Who is going to be on pole in an absolutely slipstream critical session? Well, it is now time for us to find out. So 15 minutes begins to tick away, and as it does so, all the drivers starting to get themselves set up, and well, as they all do get ready to go, well, Alex Meredith being one of many to make the way out of the pit lane, and well, we also do have making the way out of the pit lane in the Pro-Am class there, albeit parked up at the moment, but gradually creeping forward. Goldwyn Motorsports' Duncan Ray, the South African driver, creeping along. And the challenge here in qualifying is going to be not just getting the toe, but also finding the toe of drivers you want to work with. Now, if you're a driver like Duncan Ray for Goldwyn Motorsport, ideally you'll want to work with your teammates. You'll have some sort of strategy in play. You'll be on voice communications to each other over the radios or the Discord voice chat as we use to appropriate the radios that you would have in a real-life touring car racing class machine. And as Moraes makes his way on through, our drivers have been warned because in previous seasons where we've come to Monza, there have been a few shenanigans and incidents with regards to drivers waiting on the exit of the Scurry all the way down towards the final corner at Curva Parabolica with regards to then tripping over each other as they try to go onto laps, and they've been told we cannot have what is the parking lot or the queuing system that we've seen in previous seasons of the NXTCC coming out of the Scurry all the way down towards Curva Parabolica. Our drivers do need to keep momentum, and incidents in qualifying are going to be punished severely, and indeed therefore our drivers are going to need to look to be on their best behaviour where they can. As they make the way up to speed on their respective outlaps. Well, we do have a couple of other drivers here who are trying to find their teammates, including Andy Shell for Quartermaster Motorsport. He'll be very eager to try and find one of his teammates at least. We see a lot of gravel being kicked up there for drivers running wide, it would seem, coming out of the first two Lesmos. And one of the big fault factors today, or one of the big questions that a lot of drivers are asking, is how will gravel affect the racing around here, given the fact we saw gravel, in terms of gravel being pulled onto the circuit, making its debut last time out on the iRacing simulator platform at Algarve, and indeed a lot of drivers were commenting then with the fact that when the gravel comes onto the circuit, it leads to a lot of innate understeer as you try to break your way and turn into a corner, and what understeer could be a big concern here today, albeit in the most recent iRacing update which occurred earlier today, we saw that gravel effect adjusted, but in terms of how much it's been adjusted or potentially reduced, we don't know exactly. So all the drivers are going out there right now into a bit of the unknown, but then again, the unknown is where the best racing will come as the drivers look to adapt to the situation around them. But speaking of a man who knows about adapting to the unknown, Dan Mold, the SRL with NXTGEN Gold driver here, who makes his way on out of the final corner, going to his first flying lap, and as he roars his way on down towards what will be at turn number 1, well, he's absolutely making his way on down. If you're somebody who has multiple monitors and you want to have the official broadcast on screen as well as the broadcast of some of the drivers, well, many drivers do choose to live stream their own onboard perspectives, and you'll find that Dan Mold is one of many of them to do so. And Dan Mold with Simulation Racing Leagues on their Twitch channel, the SRL team, well, he'll have his onboard perspective available if you want to have that simultaneous previously casted to you, albeit we can't bring you the onboard perspective here, but he'll definitely have that available for those who want to also see the onboard perspective as you get under the way. And the Sim Racing Collective do that their own with their drivers, Andrew Pike in particular as well, and I do believe that's on the official Sim Racing Collective YouTube channel, so therefore it's great to know about all the different onboards you can get with our drivers, as well as the official broadcast that we present to you here, and indeed the more the merrier in terms of the entertainment. But as he makes his way on out of what is the right hand there, turn number 4 in towards 5, we'll hand to step aside from a number of drivers or find his way around some drivers who've gone a little bit wide, including there one is the Verano Esports machine of Russell Fowler. Well, let's talk a little bit about those class changes then, because we haven't quite talked about those so far. I mean, it's only appropriate now to talk about them. And, well, in terms of class changes, we mentioned going up to the Pro class was your Pro-Am Championship leader of none other than what was Daniel Downing. Here he is, Daniel Downing. He makes his way out of Lesmo 2, tucked into the slipstream there of Kevin Smith, as he makes his way on down the Serraglio straight. And Daniel Downing in the Honda Civic tyre part, well, it's going to be a bit of an uphill battle in the Honda Civic today, and we'll explain why shortly. We expect the Honda drivers in particular here to perhaps struggle compared to their peers, but he's been moved to the Pro class, and will close behind him in the championship out of round number 3 was none other than what was iRacing Esports Nick Clibbins. And here we can see the Audi RS3 driver who's moved to Pro and looking forward to rising to the challenge, much like the Goldwing Motorsport driver of Daniel Downing. We also had moved to the Pro class what is none other than Tom Davidson for the Sim Racer Collective, so he joins Andrew Pike in being part of the Pro class for the remainder of the season. And in terms of where Tom Davidson is out of the circuit, we can't quite find him at the moment, but we can definitely find Andrew Pike, and here he is, and he makes way through for the Sim Racer Collective. In fact, I can't actually see Tom Davidson on the entry list for today, and as soon as I say that, I notice he's actually up in P2 provisional at the moment, and here he is making his way on through the Regia chicane, so I need to get my eyesight checked, it would seem, or as the British saying goes, should have gone to Specsavers. But as he makes his way up towards turn number 4, well, right now the Sim Racer Collective Honda driver looking quite fast out the blocks, but this is early stage in the qualifying. The fuel's got to be burnt out of the car, and as the fuel comes out the car, that's where we'll see the true lap time start coming in, and we are expecting laps in the high 49s as a minimum today, if not even further, as this qualifying session goes deeper and deeper into its 15-minute window. So those are the drivers who moved up out of Pro-Am into Pro. But what about drivers who perhaps moved from Pro to Pro-Am? Well, there's only one who's moved down from Pro to Pro-Am, and that is none other than Jack Osborne. And, well, the Atomic Esports driver has moved down class, and, well, at the moment he's not quite in the iRacing lobby at this time, as far as I'm aware, so therefore we can't show the Atomic Esports car, but it's absolutely splendid livery. But if he does join in due course, we'll definitely show him off to you. But meanwhile, we've also had a number of movements to the AM class, and well, these all drivers have gone from Pro-Am to AM, and one of the big changes in particular was Mark Sykes moving down to the AM class, and we mentioned that a little bit earlier with regards to the fact the Season 6 AM champion who moved to Pro-Am in Season 7 and has been in Pro-Am at the beginning of Season 8 for Whiskey Runners Racing with Next Gen Orange. Well, he's moved back to AM, given his performances in the first 3 rounds of the season, and this season just has not meshed with him whatsoever as he makes way down, albeit moves up to P3 there in the tow of one of what is the Doble Sim Racing machines. I do believe in front of him that might be none other than what is Isaac Doble, so therefore following a fellow Audi around, and that's going to benefit him in terms of overall lap time, no question about it. We do see there one of the next pink cars go straight off, and I believe that car going off was Jamie Dorey, unless I'm mistaken. And one number of drivers trying to rejoin now and find their way back into the orders. Alex Meredith trying to tuck in there in order for that car along, but it looks as though they're all tripping over each other's toes. But we've on top of what is Mark Sykes moving to the AM class from Pro-Am to AM, we've also had one is Dylan Hunter, who we spoke to only months ago before we did go into this qualifying session, and when he's provisionally signed to Pro-Am, given he made his debut in the NXTCC earlier on this season, and where it's been decided to move into AM given his relative performances, and he's been mixing up with the AM drivers and some of the slower Pro-Am drivers, but it feels as though he is an AM driver for the purposes of this season, as he takes the runoff area there and then to the grass and the gravel, going into Lesmo 1, trying to gradually stay out of the way of everyone around him, and then just safely rejoin. I suspect he'll rejoin coming into the apex, or in fact coming onto the circuit just around what will be the start of the Lesmo 2 braking zone, and there he does so as he heads up for in the Hyundai Veloster. We've also got 2 other changes in what is the Pro-Am to AM category, and those include Quartermass Motorsports, what is Sammy Ariba, who you see here in the Audi RS3. There's plenty of gravel up on the circuit at the moment. There's dust clouds are plenty at the moment, and well, we also do have what is for National Racing Racing team, Eduardo Gonzaga, who has moved from Prime to AM, and here he is following behind his teammate in the AM class. Well, in fact, he's leading the way there, I should say. He's leading ahead of Jaroslaw Cebula, who's following behind the Prime driver National Racing team, following behind the AM driver as they make the way on through, and that brings us nicely to the end of the first half of this qualifying session. Now, going into the second half of the qualifying session, what is the form that we can expect here today in Monza? Well, firstly, the Audi RS3, on paper at least, should be the car that is the strongest on paper. Given the fact it has the strongest top-end performance in terms of 5th and 6th gear, all 4 cars, should be pointed out, have the same top speed. However, how they get there is very different. They have homologated top speed ratings in terms of the amount of miles per hour they can top out at, and I do believe that is 156 miles an hour for all of these cars, and they'll be hitting approximately what will be 152 to 153 miles an hour at their fastest heading into turn 1, which is where we'll see the maximum top speeds reached. However, the Audi is the best acceleration out of the corners, particularly when you get into the middle gear range, and it's the car that normally is able to put down the power the best on the straights and able to tear away. The Hyundai Elantra, well, it's very strong over a single lap, but it does struggle at circuits where there's high track temperatures. And in terms of weather for today, as we do bring it up on the right hand side of your screen, you'll notice their track temperature relatively low, 24 degrees centigrade to an ambient temperature of 19 degrees centigrade, and that does mean we are expecting the Elantra drivers not to be as exposed as they would be if it was a warmer season, which we've seen in previous seasons in the NXTCC. Alex Merritt has been one of many of our Hyundai Elantra drivers. We do know this car suffers with tyre wear on the front tyres, normally in the final third of a given race distance compared to its peers. And meanwhile, outside of that, we are then expecting what would be the Hyundai Elantra, to top out ahead of the Hyundai Veloster, and the Velosters by comparison, well, as we see Wayne Douglas here, known as the jack of all trades, master of none car, with a little bit of toe, it will definitely be a fast car, but if it's not got the slipstream, it may struggle on those straights by comparison, but being an all-rounder, it'll do quite nicely through the chicanes and also those medium-speed apexes, including Parabolica, which the Douglas Motorsport driver is just about to make his way into, and being off the visual pole sitter currently with 5 minutes to go, well, he'll be feeling confident here. If he can keep this up, he may just be able to pull off a little bit of magic in terms of qualifying and put himself right in the front row, especially so given he does not have any success ballast in the car, and that success ballast will definitely hold a driver back even if it's only a few kilograms. As he makes his way down the start-finish train, what about the Hondas then? Why are we expecting the Honda Civic Type R drivers like Tom Davidson to struggle? Well, simply put, this car has weak acceleration in its upper gears. From 4th through to 6th, it's the car that takes the longest to get to its maximum speed. In the slipstream, it does well, but it needs a toe to be able to get to its top speed compared to its rivals, and that's where we expect the Honda to struggle. The flip side of the coin is it's the best on the brakes, and it's the best in the low-speed corners, and therefore we are expecting this Honda to be ferocious into the braking zone for turns 2 and 3 at the Regis chicane, and also going for Ascari. This car and its ability to manage direction change should give it the ability to mix up with its rivals, but it's one of those cars whereby it's going to be very hard to lead a lap, and therefore our Honda drivers are going to need to be very tactical about when they look to make moves compared to the other machines out of the circuit. But as the clock continues to tick down, well, we need to give you an on-board lap with one of our drivers, and we're going to do so very shortly with Full Tilt Motorsports' William Guthrie, the Pro Veloster driver, as he makes way out the final quarter and charges his way up towards the timing line. As he comes across the timeline, sets it personal best and the fastest of everybody final sector, puts in P2 in the toe of one of his teammates, will make his way down towards turn at number 1. You can see they're in top gear already, heading upwards to 145 miles an hour, but it's a long run down towards Curva Grande at turn number 1 as he heads in towards the opening quarter, where he's going to be going into the quarter, turning in at 152 miles an hour, losing a little bit of speed there due to the friction of the wheels. He turns them through the apex, but having to be very gentle with the steering not to shed too much speed, and now getting ready to head towards the Regis chicane, braking there at 140 meters from the opening quarter apex down to second gear, straight lines the curbs, and as he does so, mounting those sausage curves as quickly as possible, getting off of them while using all the track whip as he now follows the 504 of Beneltrier in towards the Lesmos. Into Lesmo 1, braking at the 50 meter board, and nice and tight to the apex, the back of the throttle in third gear. Now heading up towards Lesmo 2 here, braking at the 50 meter board, but you'll notice a much more aggressive approach to the apex, then mounting that curve with the right hand side tyres, and then letting the car drop off where he gets back to the power, now heading up towards Ascari. building his way up via the Seraglio straight, the Curva del Seraglio, gets it closer and closer to Altria. I suspect Altria may stay off racing line and let Guthrie go on through, and indeed he does so there as he'll look to his right hand side of his brake marker, and that will be about 115 metres to call at apex. It'll be left, right, left here as he comes through third gear on the first apex, then flat out as he clears the apex of the second part of the Scurry, and all the way onwards now down towards Curva Parabolica. But as he does so in fifth gear, no slipstream afforded to him now for Guthrie, and therefore this is going to be painful because he's going to be losing about 2 to 3 tenths here in this short run down towards Parabolica curve. And as he comes hard on the brakes, braking at the 100 metre board down to third gear, and well, going onto the apex curve and now out, flat out to the line. What's it going to be for William Guthrie, who did a bit of improvement in the first sector but hasn't improved elsewhere on the lap, and I get the feeling for Guthrie this isn't going to move him any higher than P2 currently, as that was a wonderful on-board lap from the Full Tilt Motorsport driver. Even if it didn't have the slipstream for the final Porsche lap, he stays P2 for now, and well, Wayne Douglas, the fastest man out there on a 50.544, that may be the highest we get. Mark Sykes, well, he may have been moved to the AM class, but that hasn't dampened his pace whatsoever. He's currently P5, but look there, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of your timing tower, the top 31 separated by just over 9 tenths of a second. It is incredibly tight with regards to this qualifying session. It always is at Monza, and that's the thing with Monza. It can shake things up, and to give you one of the biggest surprises, our championship leader in the Prime class coming into today, Ben Gregory, is down in P36 right now, and well, I think he's just not had the opportunity to get the lap together that he's wanted to get it together, and therefore as he makes way into Ascari, he'll know he's only got one more lap after this one, and he needs to find some magic here, because otherwise he's got all of his work cut out for him, and he's going to need to try and carve his way through in race 1, if not races 1, 2 and 3. But powering his way on down the final stretch for Parabolica curve, you can see the 4 next-gen pink cars just in front of them, all lined up to get the slipstream off one another for one final time. And as he heads in towards turn number 9 here, what can Gregory do at this time around? Well, in terms of improvements on this lap, he has improved in the middle sectors. Sectors 2, 3 and 4 have all been personal best. Jamie Dory just up the road has set a purple sector 4. But what about our man here, Ben Gregory? Can he get himself out of the top 40 situation and move himself well up the order? He slightly improves, but it's nowhere near enough. P34 for Ben Gregory. He's got one more lap to go with 30 seconds left on the clock, but this is a nightmare. And whilst he is carrying some success ballast in the car, you would imagine he would have been hoping to at least be inside the top 20, but this is a far cry from it. Meanwhile, in terms of your prime pole sitter, provisionally it's Russell Fowler, the Vrano eSports driver in the Audi RS3, absolutely delivering. He just moved to P4 on a very strong lap, and as he makes his way on down Seraglio, he's on this lap. It will be his final lap of this qualifying session, but he's looking quite confident, no doubt about it, as we do say hello in the respective chats there to Katie Eames in the Facebook chat, and also to John Meredith in the YouTube chat cheering on son Alex. Also we say hello to Average Joe and Mike Barber, who'll be cheering on the Vrano Motorsports drivers, where it's the Vrano Academy or Vrano Esports drivers, and he's really enjoying the new debris system on iRacing, which adds a lot more realism to the racing, no doubt about it. And well, we'll see just how that debris shakes things up as the drivers head on through towards the end of this session. But as they do, well, meanwhile, in terms of Wayne Douglas, he's in the pit lane. He thinks he can't go any faster, and he doesn't need to. Perhaps he's a 10th ahead on pole, ahead of William Guthrie. But here we're looking at Russell Fowler, who comes on in, and well, does he come to the timeline? Does he come into the pit lane? He decides it's the pit lane for him. Meanwhile, your AM Championship leader coming to today, Josh Brown, one of the National Racing Team drivers. He makes his way through the final corner. What's he going to be able to do here? This is not looking fast. In fact, I think he's actually bringing it into the pit lane, unless I'm mistaken. Well, I think I am mistaken there, but it wasn't looking quick out of Parabolica. He's improved in the middle sector, but Brown stays P46. So your AM Championship leader is right towards the bottom end of all the drivers who are in qualifying today. Meanwhile, your Prime Championship leader, he's currently in P35, and at the front of the field, Wayne Douglas right now looks to be on course to take it what is his maiden pole position for this season. William Guthrie will try and do everything he can to prevent that. Meanwhile, Nick Clibbings is only on his arrival in the Pro class today. Well, Nick Clemens is only 200ths off of Guthrie, and well, Russell Fowler still entrenched in P4. So right now, this is going to be shaking up. Mark Sykes is looking to be your AM pole sitter at P7. Jonathan Collins has pulled out a late charge for P13, second place in AM, and Marcel Fritsch is third place in AM, P25. But Guthrie gains the time in the final half of the lap. But is it going to be enough to springboard him up to pole position? He improves, but only by what is half a tenth. It's not enough. William Guthrie will stay P2 on a 50.603. and it's Wayne Douglas who has taken pole position, and it has been a long time since we've seen Wayne Douglas on the front row, let alone the top spot of the grid, but he's done that today, and well done to the Douglas Motorsport driver. I mean, I think he felt as though once he put that 50.544 in, he got the job done, and therefore it's going to be the task of everyone now to try and find a way ahead of him come the end of race number 1. As we look to Lewis Delmont and Sam Bradley here, well, P15 for Lewis Delmont, Sam Bradley P30, so it's been a bit of a, shaken up qualifying session for the two teammates. Jaroslaw with NXTGEN Gold, and Adam Delmont, father to Lewis Delmont, only 4 places up the road. So therefore it is a qualifying session in which, much like we normally see at Monza, it's about who can find the right toe at the right time, and well, therefore there are some big surprises in store, some other surprises as well. Joseph Doble P26, Ben Altria P27, and Altria was saying to me in the build-up to today that he was looking to essentially try and continue his run inside the top 10, and he's got his work cut out for him. But that's qualifying complete, ladies and gentlemen, and let's head to the grid for our first race a day, because it is definitely going to be an enticing one. So as race number 1 gets set and ready to roll, here is the grid for our first of our 3 races in round 4 of season 8 of the NXTCC, powered by Doble Motorcycles. And as we can see, taking pole position for Douglas Motorsport on a 150.544, I should say, is none other than Wayne Douglas. Joining on the front row of the grid is William Guthrie for Full Tilt Motorsport. The two drivers, no success past in the cars, and in the end, both Veloster drivers, and showing the Veloster can be potent at Monza. Nick Clemens starts today P3 for iRacing Esports in his promotion to the Pro class. He's joined on the second row of the grid by Pro-Am pole sitter Russell Fowler for Verano Esports. Behind them on row number 3, it's Jamie Dory for NXTGEN Ping ahead of teammate Gavin Gardner, and that's the first top 10 in qualifying for Gavin Gardner this season. He's finding his pace once again. Mark Sykes, your AM pole sitter, starts P7 on his demotion to the AM class for this round for NXTGEN Orange Whisker Runners Racing, and he was 14 thousandths faster than Lee Horn, his teammate from the Pro class. And behind them to complete the top 10, Dan Mould for SO and NXTGEN Gold, and Tom Davidson for the Sim Racing Collective. Then started P11, Adam Delmont for SRO in NXTGEN Gold, and Benjamin McCluskey for NXTGEN Ping. Then going to row number 7, Jonathan Collins, your second place AM driver for NXTGEN Orange Whisker Runners Racing, and Mikey Doble for Doble Sim Racing. He carries the maximum success past into this race and into qualifying, and what it's shown, but the 56.1 kilograms, he'll look to try and shed as much that weight as possible if he can't pull off a top 10. Lewis Delmont starts today P15 for SO and NXTGEN Gold. He stays there from where we saw him in qualifying. He's ahead of Reese Watt for JWM Motorsport. Duncan Ryan lines up on the 9th row of the grid for Goldwyn Motorsport, the South African driver in the company of Isaac Doble for Doble Sim Racing. And then your top 20 is completed by Track Scotland's Kieran Smart and iRacing Esports' Sam J. Smith. Jaroslaw Cebula, your second place overall Drivers' Championship driver, starts today in P21 for NXTGEN Ping, the Polishman being joined by the Northern Irishman of Alan McCain, who starts P22 for iRacing Esports. Alex Meredith starts P23 for NXTGEN Orange Whisker Runners Racing, then Sam Van Olst joins him on the 12th row of the grid for Goldwing Motorsport. Behind them on the 13th row of the grid, it's Marcel Fritsch, who starts P3 in the AM class but P25 for Rhino Academy. Joe Doble for Doble Sim Racing starts P26 in what has been a bit of an underwhelming season so far for the number 11 driver, but he's been in a few incidents, not all his own fault, and therefore he'll be hoping today he can avoid the danger and steer clear and make his way up the order. Ben Altria starts P27 in the 504 car for Full Tilt Motorsport, and he's joined on the 14th row of the grid by Michael Lees for JWM Motorsport. Stuart Winers starts P29 for Track Scotland ahead of Sam Bradley for SO and NXTGEN Gold, and then we will see behind them none other than what is the combination of Daniel Downing for Goldwyn Motorsport and Andrew Pyatt for the Sim Racing Collective. Matthew Sheraton starts P33 for Aztec Racing ahead of Toby Prosser, his teammate, and then we will have none other than Ben Gregory for Full Tilt Motorsport and Gilberto Struck for National Racing Team. We'll then have on what is the 19th row of the grid, Dylan Hunter for DH Racing and Andy Fox for Goldwyn Motorsport, ahead of Gabriel Papaconstantinou for Aztec Racing and his teammate Lewis Mason, who complete the top 40. It's a continued run of AMs at this point, with Andy Chell starting P41 for Quartmass Motorsport ahead of Aztec Racing's Gabriel Yilmaz. Jonathan Berry for Quartmass Motorsport starts P43 after what was a challenging time in Portugal due to a number of technical issues with the car, and he'll be hoping those technical issues have gone away today. He's in the company of P44 driver Eduardo Gonzaga for National Racing Team, and behind the Brazilian is the Briton of William Kurtler on his debut for Aztec Racing in this season, and he's ahead of Josh Brown for National Racing Team, the AM Championship leader. On row, what is their number 24? It's Kevin Smith for Rhino Academy, the three-time winner at Portugal, ahead of Sammy Ariba for Quartmass Motorsport. And then, ladies and gentlemen, on the final row of the grid, not taking part in qualifying, James Smazerskow, who starts P49 for Aztec Racing, and last but not least, Matt Emmons with that qualifying ban due to the car change from the Honda to the Audi S3. The Rhino Esports driver starts P50 last but not least. So that is your 50 car grid for our first race of the day. They're all in a position or thereabouts, and as all of our drivers get ready to go racing, well, they'll all be absolutely itching, no doubt about it. And well, we've got 11 laps of racing awaiting us, and it's only one long run down towards turn 1. Indeed, you can't even see turn 1 in the distance when you sit on board at Wayne Douglas's car for Douglas Motorsport right now, but it is a very long run. And with that in mind, Wayne Douglas, William Guthrie, all of them in the front couple of rows, we're looking to get the perfect launch and to try and settle down into the slipstream as early as possible. But the one thing about it is everybody may want to be leading coming into turn 1, or particularly into turns 2 and 3, and they'll want to try and steer clear of the pack in case there is any chaos behind. Because of course the old saying goes, there are 3 things to be scared of in life. Firstly, well, in fact, there's not 3 things to be scared of in life. There's one major thing which everybody is scared of in motorsport, and that is the infamous combination in a single sentence, the words Monza and turn 1. You put the two of them together, and well, it'll make even the most experienced of racing drivers absolutely terrified. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the lights are going on for the first time today, and it's going to be 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go here at Monza for the first race of the day as Wayne Douglas gets a good launch off the line. William Guthrie immediately tucks in behind, but look at Nick Clemens who gets an absolutely ferocious start. And that Audi RS3 now building up a lot of speed as they make the way down towards turn number 1. But coming on down, you can see Douglas now trying to take the outside line here, trying to build up a bit of momentum and force everyone to play the game and follow the leader as they come in towards the opening corner. And as they do, the whole field safely on through at that entry point into the corner as they now come down towards the opening break zone under the opening camera, and Mikey Doble there trying to size up with his combination Johnson Collins and Lewis and Delmont, as meanwhile your leaders make the way onto the anchors, and Wayne Douglas having to go defensive versus William Guthrie as everybody now Constantina's into this opening braking zone 2 by 2. They got a couple of 3-4 wides there further back as I can see Toby Prosser, Ben Gregory, and with Sam Bradley and Matthew Sheraton all getting very close together. They're further down, got quite a bit of gravel being kicked up, but everyone's safely on through the opening few corners, and it's absolutely brilliant to see. Matt Evans, who started from the pit lane, he's away back, but he'll be looking to try and catch up should there be any instance further down the order. But meanwhile, as we see a car running wide, that's Lewis Delmont has taken a trip to the gravel. He'll look to rejoin when he can, but Wayne Douglas is continuing to try and hold on to his lead, but William Guthrie now says it's my time. He wants to try and play for the lead here going into Ascari. Onto the brakes they go, Guthrie on the inside, Douglas on the outside, and Douglas here playing the game of just being conservative and deciding not to put up a fight because he knows at the end of the day there's 11 laps in this race, not just 1, and therefore he's happy for Guthrie to be the leader as they come down towards turn 9. Russell Fowler's had a brilliant start as well, holding on to P4 for Rano Esports. He makes his way up behind Nick Clemens, but look at Clemens now starting to open up a half-second gap to what is Fowler, and Fowler now looking in his rearview mirrors, and I suspect worrying about what's to come further behind. Also Benjamin McCluskey getting in one place, he's tucked in behind Dan Mould, and well, we've got a sizable gap to Mikey Doble, who's moved up to P12, having started P14. So Doble, to be fair, whilst he's got the weight in the car, it's not stopped him from making some early gains, but the problem now for Doble is the fact that with brother Isaac behind, well, Mikey's going to find that he's in a car now that wants to move forward, but a bit of a slower rate compared to everyone else, given the weight he's got in the car, and therefore that may just hinder him closing back up to the top 10. But 1 lap is complete, and after 1 lap, it's Guthrie ahead of Douglas, followed by Clemens. Russell Fowler, your Pro-Am leaders in P4 for Rano Esports, ahead of Dory, followed by Gardner. And then it's Horn P7, Davidson P8, Sykes is in at Mark Sykes P9 there, your AM leader, having lost a couple of places at the start, but staying out of trouble. And then it's Mould who completes your top 10. Benjamin McCluskey P11 is best to rest. Further down the order, we see Reese Watt, currently P2 in the Pro-Am class here, trying to fend off Kieran Smart as they come down to the brace car, running wide there and rejoining. I believe that is the car from iRacing Esports of Sam Smith that's taken a trip to the gravel on the exit of turn 1. And we haven't quite got the story as to what's happened there, but we'll try and find out shortly. But all the drivers now starting to settle down. Alan McCain, in fact, that was Alan McCain running wide there, not Sam Smith. Oh, car around in the rear of the picture. Dylan Hunter going slowly, and I believe that's James Mazescow who's been turned around at the reduced chicane. But coming back to our full process here of Alan McCain, he was the one who went wide at turn 1. Not quite sure what saw him go wide, whether it was his own volition, some dirty air, or a bit of a nudge from another driver, but he's fallen victim to it. It's been our Sam Bradley going slowly there. On what is the outside line through Seraglio, that'll be the outside line all the way down towards Ascari, and I suspect that's for an automated slowdown penalty from what is the reduced chicane for cutting track limits. But as they head in towards the Ascari chicane, well, McCain's going to look up the inside of Bradley, 2 wide they enter, and McCain will make this move happen. And I think Bradley at this point just trying to get himself back up to speed. Joe Doble tucks in behind there, and he's lost 8 places since the start, with Andy Cho and Daniel Downing behind. And Daniel Downing, who started today P31 in a dismal qualifying session on his arrival in the Pro class, well, I can tell tell you one thing right now, he's got to move forward, not backwards, but it's gone backwards thus far as he heads up towards turn number 9 and in towards Parabolica they go. Meanwhile, a bit further back, we can see Josh Brown snaking all over the back of Lewis Mason here as they head in towards the opening corner, and Brown having a slight connectivity issue, it would seem. His teammate Eduardo Gonzaga right behind the National Racing Team, and well, they rematerialise from the ether, does Brown, and well, Gonzaga won't be too pleased about that because he won't know where his teammate, let alone his racing rival, is on the circuit. And well, hopefully his internet connection will settle down, as always that could be a premature retirement for this race if he has internet connectivity issues that only get worse as we go on to lap number 3. But meanwhile, just up the road in the AM class, this is for P5. This is Jonathan Berry, the Courtmaster Motorsport driver in the 96, who's got Gabriel Yilmaz and company close behind, with Gilberto Struck hanging on as well. And right now, it really is the case where you want to try and work with your rivals around you in order to make progress to the next pack of cars, because this is slipstream pack style racing now, or NASCAR style racing in a way, and therefore the drivers will want to try and work together, but no working together there. Gilberto Struck carving up the inside of what is Gabriel Yilmaz. You can see Andy Fox, who's had a difficult qualifying session, catches up behind as they head in towards turn number 4, but as they do, there's more battling further back as Lewis Mason passed there on the inside by Kevin Smith. Smith runs a little bit deep out of the Lesmo 1. Mason's going to try and come back, showing what the Honda can do on these medium speed apexes, but as they make the run through, there's gravel being kicked up everywhere. You would think you're in the desert right now given the clouds we've got kicked up, but no, we're in Italy. And as they make the way down Seraglio, well, there's some damage to the front of Smith's car. You can see that the front bumper is disjointed and the Audi logo with it is perched at a bit of an angle, not its perfect perpendicular angle to the bumper, and as he makes his way on down towards Ascari, it doesn't seem to be holding him back. But as they head in towards Ascari this time around, meanwhile Tom Davidson battling side by side with Lee Horn, and well, these two getting very acquainted with each other. They battled last time out in Portugal, albeit in different classes, but today they find themselves battling inside the Pro Class together, and Davidson right now trying to make a little bit further progress here as he comes out the final corner to complete lap number 3. Powering on down, and well, the two Honda drivers here staying absolutely side by side, both of them fighting over the slipstream with Gardner. And so you may be wondering, why are we not seeing drivers go beyond the white inside line there on the start finish straight? Well, they've been told if they put all 4 tyres beyond that white line to get close to the pit wall, it will be considered off track and drivers will be penalised for it. And there will be exceptions allowed if there is an incident, for example, or alternatively a driver is forced out there, but that will be at the discretion of a race director's review after the racing, and that's why we're not seeing drivers run all the way to the pit wall. But meanwhile, we are seeing here Davidson and Horn run their way all the way down towards Regia, and Davidson in the end gets on the inside and better on the brakes, and the 42 driver takes P7, as meanwhile your race leader William Guthrie continues to be under unending pressure from Wayne Douglas as they head in towards Lesmo 1, and things are keeping cool right now, but I think this is the proverbial calm before the storm. But speaking of storms, there was a bit of a stormy moment for Lewis Delmont on the opening lap of the race, where we saw him take a very long run off circuit at Lesmo 2, and this is what happened to Lewis Delmont. And this was at the start as they made the way on through the right-hander there with the, what was the number 37 car, and well, Delmont just ran wide, rejoined there, bouncing around as he came onto the grass, and in the end, as he rejoined, I think he might try and get back on, but then realised he was not going to be able to safely rejoin and let the car roll wide, and he was battling side by side with Adam Delmont there, so father and son exchanging a little bit of pain, you would say, and Lewis Delmont coming off the worst of the two of them. And then only what was a lap later, we had a bit of an incident for none other than Alan McCain. And well, this is what happened on lap number 2 for Alan McCain, heading in towards Curvazano, and as he came through the right-hander, just carried a bit too much speed and the dirty on the outside line, and in the end the car not wanting to comply and running wide. But there was also an incident coming down into what was the chicane for Dylan Hunter and James Smazerskow, and there we saw that on camera as well, and it was under braking. Hunter, I think, is going to come in quite hot on the brakes, looks up the inside, and in the end Smazerskow turns across, not expecting Hunter to be there, and the two of them have an exchange, but I think they'll sort that one out of the race. And Hunter, to be fair to him, waited until Smazerskow got back up to speed before going racing and showing great racing respect there. Gentleman racing, number 26 driver, no doubt about it. But return to your live racing pictures now, ladies and gentlemen. On to lap number 5 we go, and as we do, well, there's been a bit of a change up front, as that is Russell Fowler who's into P2. William Guthrie now being marshalled down the order to what is P4 or P3, depending on how his escapades with Nick Clemens go here. 2 wide they're going to Regia, and Clemens fights outside to inside, Guthrie inside to outside, gets slightly elbowed there to the gravel, and well, I think neither driver wants to give in here, but look at the gap they're creating to the top 2 by fighting this much. Clemens still down the inside, Guthrie on the outside. outside, and right now that is a 1.2 second gap to Fowler that's opened up, and if this continues, the top two could break away here, and I think neither driver wants to let the other lead, but they've got to at some point settle this down, because right now, well, 1.4 second gap to Fowler, that could mean the top two. If Douglas and Fowler see this has happened, they may just choose to work together for the rest of this race, and they can pull off into the distance now, as Guthrie is going to have a long line of cars behind him, as we look out the rear window of the Full Tilt Motorsport 36, and Clemens, Dory, Gardner, Davidson, Horn, Sykes, Mole, McCluskey, and then Isaac Doble are all in this long queue that would love to get back onto the top two, but can Guthrie pull them up there? Well, that will be the challenge for him, given he's got no success bars in the car, neither has Fowler or Douglas in front, so therefore this is all going to come down to digging deep and trying to usher out some lap time here as we head in towards the second lap of the second half of this race. We've already gone past the second lap. We've got a long way to go in terms of the race distance, and well, it's been a long ways to go. Well, it's a long way back to the pit lane for some drivers. Sam Bradley, I believe, has had to be towed to the pits off camera. We're not quite sure what's happened. We will get a replay of that shortly to explain as our drivers continue to push on, but now we're starting to see a little bit of fidgeting here down the start finish straight. Lee Horn and Tom Davidson once again side by side. Mark Sykes and Dan Mould just behind them as they go 2 by 2 in this mid-pack of the top 10, and well, Mould here looking up the inside of Sykes in their battle, and meanwhile Horn and Davidson, well, these two right now, I think neither one wants to let the other Honda go. I think they're enjoying this scrap because they are the two leading Hondas out the circuit, as Horn goes deep there turn. We can see the car starting to slide loose, and that's the dirty out, the overspeed on the outside line, and we're coming down to the braking zone here. We can see Davidson's backed out, meanwhile Mould looks up the inside of Sykes. Sykes isn't going to fight this too hard, and Dan Mould moves up into P9. Further back, we look to Alex Meredith and Ben Altria, and Ben Altria has gained a lot of places since the start. 20, in fact, moved to 20 from 27, so 7 places gained. Alex Meredith, meanwhile, has got him behind and has gained 4 of his own. So therefore, both drivers here making some good and gradual progress. Behind them, Michael Lees and Stuart Wine is side by side going to Lesmo 1. And well, in the end, Lees not, I think he's a little bit enraged at not being given enough racing room there, as we see a tap to the rear of what is Wine's car from Lewis Delmont. I think Lewis Delmont is saying, look, can you two put your handbags away and let me battle you instead? And well, Lees right now only obliging as they make their way down Seraglio, but that is going to enable where's Wyness to run away as they head up towards Ascari this time. Toby Pross also gets into the fight. You can see there the Aztec Racing Elantra taking a bit of a peep, but also covering off where's Marcel Fridge and Matthew Sheraton up the inside of Marcel Fridge in towards Ascari. So therefore, these drivers, as they roll through the triplet chicane, well, right now they'll settle the differences, but the AM driver Marcel Fritz being pushed down the order. Meanwhile, the Prams all making their way further up the running order as they come towards the end of this lap. Looking from them down into the bottom end of the AM class, well, here's Kevin Smith, and I can tell you one thing, that 25 kilograms of success ballast plus some damage he's picked up in the opening laps of this race have not helped the Verano Academy driver. He's P11 in AM class right now, and he's not moving much further forward at this time. He's in the tow of William Kurtler, but right now it looks though there he's in the tow to keep the speed rather than being able to make an overtake as a result of it, and therefore this could be a frustrating race, and he'll have to build from this in race number 2 if that car is running significant damage, which we suspect it is. But meanwhile, just behind them, Sammy Ariba and Gabriel Papaconstantou, they're side by side here, coming down the start finish straight, and where it's going to be Ariba, the Portmaster Motorsport driver, who's going to try and hold the natural racing line on that outside. Meanwhile, Papaconstantou on the inside here, they're fighting over what is P12 in the AM class, so they're fighting for the last of the available AM points, if you will, as they head in towards turn number 1. Neither driver here wants to give way to the other in the battle of the Audi RS freeze, and in the end, Ariba, a little bit of a wobble down turning, manages to control it just about. Well done to the number 99 driver, but loses the place to Papaconstantou. It's so easy to lose grip, and that is before you consider the gravel that's been kicked onto the circuit, and will that gravel even making it harder? But meanwhile, we come all the way from the back of the field back up to the very front of the field. This is Russell Fowler, and what we said about only moments ago, could Ian Douglas break away and leave Guthrie and the rest of the field chasing after him in their dust? Well, not to be, and in fact Fowler's fallen back to P3, Guthrie's back up to P2, Douglas is still your leader, Nick Clemens now is all over the back of the 73 drivers. They make the way up towards Parabolica Curve, and everyone, I think, still in that mindset, trying to work together. But the gloves will come off on what will be the final lap or 2, and that's where we'll start to see the fight in between all the drivers as they roar the way on around the circuit, given the fact that right now every driver here wanting to try and make places, but they don't want to lose sight of the pack of cars in front of them if they can get into that fight and know there's more places to be grabbed. And one driver who's doing exactly that is Gavin Gardner, as we ride on board here with the number 11 car, the second of Next Gen Pink runners in terms of running order. He's behind teammate Jamie Dorey, and well, these two of course going from rivals in Season 1, where Gardner was your runner-up to Jamie Dory, who took the first ever Overall Drivers' Championship crown, and will right now teammates as they make their way up towards turn number 1. And Gardner giving a little bit of a bump draft there to Dory on the straight, trying to give him a couple of extra miles an hour speed where he can in order to push them closer to that fight for P3 between Russell Fowler and Nick Clibbins, which is only 6/10 up the road, if that. We're coming into the braking zone here for the Regia chicane, and well, meanwhile you can see there Guthrie up the inside taking the lead in the distance of a Wayne Douglas to siphon his way into lead for now as they come up towards the Lesmos once again. And Guthrie here, as we follow the drone camera around through the corners, well, Guthrie at this point in time, I think his mindset will be to just try and keep Wayne Douglas behind him as much as he can. Perhaps try and force Douglas into a battle with the drivers behind, and that will enable him to break away as your leader. But then again, it's much easier said than done, and that can be said of many things in the NXTCC, particularly in Monza. Leading and winning a race are two very separate entities as they make their way onto the oval bridge. But as they come in towards turn number 6, coming for Ascari once again. We can see Guthrie here not able to put any daylight between himself and Douglas absolutely glued to the back of Guthrie. Both of them want this win. But from them to drivers back inside the prime top 5 and fighting right now, as we see plenty of fighting there between Toby Prosser and Sam Smith. Gets very, very cagey there, coming on for Ascari, and I think both drivers giving each other the elbows coming through the chicane. Well, Toby Prosser in the end does get ahead, as does Matthew Sheraton, but Sam Smith is not backing out on the inside line here down towards Parabolica Curve, and who could blame him? He's just been muscled down to what is none other than P10 in the prime class for P8, and up the inside there's Ben Altria, 3-1 on entry. And Marcel Fridge, well, I think there may have had some secondary contact from Sam Smith as Ben Altria in a damaged Full Tilt Motorsport Hyundai Elantra. You can see that front left-hand panel that curves around the front left tyre has receded as a result of a knock or two. And will Ben Altria looking for that free wide, not quite able to make it work as cleanly as perhaps he wanted to. He's gained the places, but what does it count in terms of the cost? That will be the question. As you can see, Alan McCain is making up time hand over fist here. And I think the aerodynamic damage right now is costing Altria the best part of 2-3 miles an hour down this straight, let alone the absence of the slipstream of Sam Smith just up the road, as there's McCain up the inside, and Altria here giving McCain that inside line and letting McCain carry the overspeed through so as not to cause the two of them to lose time. But which one of these two now will battle on the inside, where it will be Ben Altria in the entry zone there who decides to back out, and Alan McCain in the end takes P28 off of him, as meanwhile just up the road Michael Lees of JWM Motorsport still fighting here with Matthew Sheraton. Toby Prosser has fallen behind Sheraton and Lees in all of the battling that's going on between them, and was the trio make the way towards Lesmo 2 on lap number 9 of 11. 2 wide they enter Lesmo 2, 2 wide they exit, but Lees here will not have as much speed as they come on down. And in fact you can see Prosser right now absolutely looking from left to right in order to try and find a move, but there's Sam Smith who's trying to also look down the inside. Prosser covers it off, so Sam Smith immediately defects the outside. Also Alan McCain and the Irish Esports drivers trying to go 2 for 2 versus the Aztec Race drivers. The JWM Motorsport car of Lees in amongst the pack, and as they come on through Ascari, well, they are to settle down to one line formation for now. Ben Altria on the back of this, I can imagine, must be fuming that he can't make any further progress in the fact he's just caught up in the fight. And right now this prime battle for P7 in the prime class absolutely on a knife edge, and meanwhile the battle for P5 in the prime class is only 1.5 seconds up the road, and this is it between Lewis Delmont and Stuart Wyness. But these two right now, I think, recognising the fact they don't want to fight until the final lap, because if they fight now they will be pulled into that pack behind them, which they've just been able to escape from, and they don't want to be back in it anytime soon. And making the way onwards then to the penultimate lap of this race. Well, from them we look back up towards your leaders. Douglas up the inside of Guthrie, heading on through turn at number 1, and as they come on through, well, you can see up there, this time Guthrie decides to back out slightly in order to let what is Douglas take the lead, but also to prevent Guthrie from running wide, and Russell Fowler potentially benefiting as a result. But absolutely glued behind him right now is Guthrie to Douglas's rear as they make the way in towards Lesmo 1, and Guthrie is throwing everything at this, every little move and jink he can in order to unsettle the number 66 drivers. We see Nick Clibbins taking P3 over Russell Fowler into what is Lesmo 1. The prime leader drops down to P4, but he doesn't lose the prime lead. Second place prime driver is Reese White in P14, so therefore Fowler does have a 10-place buffer in terms of battling with his rivals that he doesn't need to worry too much about. But as they come up towards what will be Ascari here, will we see another move from William Guthrie? 1.5 tenths is the run, but he's not going to be close enough here and just has to wait in the wings as they come on through the triple header chicane and then onwards towards Parabolica Curve. But this top 10 separated, well, in fact our top 12 separated by 3.1 seconds. It is a long line of cars, and I can tell you that Benjamin McCluskey and Mark Science are coming onto it soon as well. As you can see, Guthrie looks to the inside, Douglas covers it off, and Guthrie there forcing Douglas to take the inopportune line on the inside into Parabolica Curve. And well, now this is where the big battle is going to kick off, because we'll have one more lap as they come out to this corner, and now Guthrie will want to take the lead and not look back. He will have sussed out as much as he can information wise regarding Douglas. Douglas will have done the same versus Guthrie, but the white flag waves and it's neck and neck as they head on to the final lap of race 1 of the day. You can see Nick Clemens out only 4 tenths behind. He's watching this and he'll be thinking, can I get involved in this? Russell Fowler will think, can I become a race 1 Pro-Am overall winner? Indeed, that's very rare to happen. And as they make the way in towards turn 1, Douglas and Guthrie side by side as they head in towards the corner. Guthrie's on the inside there. You would imagine that he'll have the advantage given the circumference of the corner he has to turn through, but Douglas isn't going to back out if he can help it as they come from the distant camera shot into view. And well, you can see then Nick Clemens makes his way on the rear of Guthrie, but Douglas defends it and defends it hard as they come through the Regia chicane, but Guthrie immediately comes back there. Douglas tries to shut the door and does so just in time as Guthrie now looks to the outside. Clemens right behind and waiting for an opportunity to try and attack as we jump on board with a third place driver here who's got the popcorn seat view. Douglas once again immediately coming off the inside. They're coming into Lesbo too, making sure there's no way through for the time being. Guthrie falls to 2.5 tenths back. Nick Clemens meanwhile 2.5 tenths back off of Guthrie. They're equidistant from each other as they head onwards towards what will be Ascari, but this is where Guthrie has proven to be the faster of the two drivers on previous laps, where he's able to just carry a little bit more speed out to the final corner of Ascari. But will he be able to do so this time, or will Douglas find some magic here as they glide their way into the first part, then through the right-hander and now back into the left-hander, and you can see there's the gravel dust getting kicked up. Both drivers running wide, they're using every bit of the track and a little bit more, as meanwhile Clemens has got pressure from Fowler behind. Fowler looking for an opportunity to get onto the overall podium as they head on down towards that last corner. It is enticingly close here for all drivers to try and look for the win, or at least be on the podium, but Douglas now crawling through Parabolica, parking the car on the apex and just dragging it through the corner there. And well, Guthrie won't be too pleased with that, but he's made it work, and as they power their way to the line, the checker flag will wave, and Wayne Douglas, it looks like he's going to take winner. Is he? No, he's not. Wayne, goodness me, it's William Guthrie who steals it away right at the end, with Wayne Douglas missing a shift, it would seem, and Nick Clemens takes P3 ahead of Russell Fowler, who is your Pro-Am winner P4, albeit in the barrier as he crossed the line. Jamie Dory, Gavin Gardner, Lee Horn, Tom Davidson, Dan Mulder, Mikey Doble complete your top 10. Mark Science comes alone P13 to take the AM victory ahead of Pro-Am runner-up Reese Watts, and then we will see Adam Delmont complete the top 15 overall, as most of the field has already crossed the finish line already. Runner-up in the AM class will be Marcel Fritsch, who comes alone for P29, that's P2 in the AM class, and then Andy Chell will finish this race P33, but take his first AM podium of the season with that for Quartermass Motorsport, with third place in class, and he'll be absolutely ecstatic with that. And it's a 3-4 for Quartermass Motorsport, because Jonathan Berry takes P35, and well, all the frustrations of the last couple of rounds seem to be finally fading away for the 96 driver and for the team as a whole, and that is a great result to start off their day here in Italy at Monza. Well, you've still got a couple of drivers to finish this race, including James Smadsgow after his altercation with Dylan Hunter, where he takes P46 in the end, but a frustrating first race of the day, 16th place in the Pro-Am class. And then we've got one more driver still to finish this race, ladies and gentlemen, and that will be Joe Doble, as he heads all the way up towards what will be turn number 9, and as he comes on through, the Doble Sim Racing driver in the number 11 will make it to the finish. And well, it's going to be a race to forget, and 2 more to come still, but he'll know he's got to do it all the way from the back of the field as he takes the final checker flag on the lead lap of this race. And as he does so, meanwhile, coming into the pits very shortly will be your race winner, William Guthrie, who, despite Wayne Douglas dragging the car out of Parabolica, Guthrie managed to find the speed in time to just cross that line by 17 thousandths ahead of Wayne Douglas. A brilliant race between the two of them, but there can only be one winner in this race, and William Guthrie was that with Douglas P2. Nick Clemens came home in P3, the iRacing Esports driver, on his arrival in the pro class. Absolutely pleased with that result. Russell Fowler there taking P4 in the overall category, but win in the Pro-Am class, albeit a number of you mentioned there in the YouTube chat with regards to him crossing with all four wheels beyond the white inside line, coming down the start-finish straight, and well, that will most likely be looked at by a race director after the racing today, so therefore the number 73 driver will have a small cloud hanging over his head, but I think in the moment he'll be absolutely enjoying that Pro-Am win. Reese Watt P2 in the Pro-Am class, and well, it's a double Audi podium, and in fact not quite a triple Audi podium in the Pro-Ams, because Duncan Rice was your third place finisher in the Pro-Am class. Meal and the AMs will have Mark Sykes come on through to take that victory, Marcel Fritsch and then Andy Chell. But most of our drivers already in the pit lane, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a look at those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries. Well, as we can see, as the results do appear on screen for race number 1 of round 4 of season 8 of the NXTCC, powered by Doble Motorcycles, brought to you on iRacing. William Guthrie, your winner for Full Tilt Motorsport, and in fact there by what is 3/4 of a tenth of a second of the Douglas Motorsports Wayne Douglas, but you couldn't have asked for closer at the line, and what a battle between the two of them. Nick Clemens P3 there, and in the end happy with that podium, no doubt, for iRacing Esports, just fending off the challenge from Rhino Esports' Russell Fowler, the Pro-Am driver who finished P4 overall, but most importantly for him, took the Pro-Am victory. Jamie Dory, P5 for Next Gen Pink, ahead of teammate Gavin Gardner, who worked together with him, bump drafted each other all the way up towards that top 5 finish. Gardner there, unlucky not to finish inside the top 5, but he'll be happy with a P6 and need a great return to form there from the number 11 driver. Lee Horn, P7 for Next Gen Orange Whiskey runners, and a solid top 10 finish there for the 36 driver. Ahead of Tom Davidson, the Sim Racing Collective driver, P8, and he'll be pleased with that given his promotion to the pro class. Ahead of Dan Mole for SO and Next Gen Gold, who made a lot of progress in this race, as did Mikey Doble. Despite the maximum success ballast in the car, your overall championship leader moving from P14 to P10, and therefore he'll take a little bit of weight into the next race, but nothing near what he started this race on, and he will be grinning at that. Behind the Double Sim Racing 88 driver, the 28 of Benjamin McCluskey, best of the rest PLM for Next Gen Pink. Head of Isaac Doble for Double Sim Racing, and then Mark Sykes, your AM winner there for Next Gen Orange Whiskey runners, having started inside the top 10, when then he finished just outside of it, but he won't complain at that, as there'll be some overall points, and most importantly an AM win. Reese Watt, runner-up in the Pro-Am class, P14 for JWM Motorsport, in a bit of a lonely race for Reese Watt for the most part, with Adam Delmont close on his heels towards the end and taking the final overall points, P15 for SO and Next Gen Gold. Duncan Rise was your third place finisher in the Pro-Am class of Goldwyn Motorsport, ahead of teammate Sam Van Olst, and then we can see Andrew Pike ahead of what was none other than Jaroslaw Cebula and Alex Meredith, who completed your top 20. Behind Alex Meredith for Next Gen Orange Whiskey runners, it was none other than SO and Next Gen Gold's Lewis Delmont, who held off Stuart Winus at the close. Tony Prosser managed to get back ahead of his Aztec Racing teammate Matthew Sheraton to finish P23, and then Alan McCain P25 there for iRacing Esports, in a race which saw him make as much progress as regress just as much in that brilliant battle back and forth for the Aztec Racing and Full Tilt Motorsport drivers. Speaking of which, Ben Gregory and Ben Alchier finished behind Alan McCain, and then Sam Smith P28 for iRacing Esports, but ahead of Rhino Academy's Marcel Fritsch, your runner-up in the AM class, and behind the Austrian driver to complete the top 30, Daniel Downing. P31, it was Michael Lees ahead of Gilberto Struck, with Andy Chell taking his first AM podium there, P33, but P3 in the AM class of Courtmass Motorsport, ahead of Goldwyn Motorsport's Andy Fox, and perhaps more jubilantly, Jonathan Berry, his Courtmass Motorsport teammate, and what P4 in the AM class there for Berry will be absolutely music to his ears. Gabriel Yilmaz led home a trio of Aztec racing cars, P5 through to P7 in the AM class, P36 through to P38, which included himself, Lewis Mason and Gabriel Papacon-Sanantino, and your top 40 was grounded out by Josh Brown and William Kurtler. P41 went to Kieran Smart ahead of Matt Emmons, with Kerry Smith P43 ahead of Sammy Ariba, and then we had Dylan Hunter, James Maslisgow, Jonathan Collins, and Joe Doble complete the lead lap finishers down to P48. We also did have drivers who finished off the lead lap, and they were Sam Bradley a lap down and Eduardo Gonzaga, our last finisher, 2 laps down, P50. So 50 starters, 50 finishers, 48 on the lead lap, ladies and gentlemen, and we've still got plenty more laps for our drivers to potentially lead here at Monza, because that was just race number 1 of the day, and race number 2 will be coming up in approximately what will be 7 to 8 minutes time. Don't go anywhere, you won't want to miss it, as we will see you very shortly, and we will leave you with these words from our title sponsor for this season, and that's none other than Doble Motorcycles. If If you are looking to buy your next two-wheeled machine or ATV, why not consider Doble Motorcycles? Home to an expansive full range of Honda motorcycles, scooters, off-road bikes and ATVs, Doble Motorcycles is the UK's leading Honda motorcycle dealer. However, do not just take our word for it. Having won numerous awards over the years, including 3 Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year awards, and being nominated for many more, including Honda Dealer of the Year 4 times, the Doble family-run business prides itself on customer service, and it shows. Add to this the family's rich racing history through 3 generations, as currently embodied by Mikey Doble Racing, with Mikey chasing glory in the BTCC, and you can be certain that you'll receive excellent customer service from lights out to checkered flag. So if you'd like to know more, check out their website today at doble.co.uk. Speaking of Mikey Doble Racing, if you'd like to support Mikey as he pushes it to the limit out on track, you can do so by following the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page as seen on screen. Additionally, if you want to represent the 88 Army at a BTCC weekend, Mikey Doble Racing has some fantastic merchandise available just for you, as may be found either via the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page or alternatively in the Doble Motorcycle store at dobledirect.co.uk. Don't miss out on being a part of the 88 Army today. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, back for the build-up to race 2 of 3 here today at the Autodromo Nacional Monza in Italy in round 4 of season 8 of the NXTCC. And what a race we started off our day with. There was some absolutely brilliant performances up and down the field, no question about it. Although we do need to correct one thing we did say come the end of race number 1 regarding Quartermaster Motorsports' Andy Schell. We mentioned that it was his first AM podium, not quite, as he did pull off a second place in what was race number 1 of round 2 at Mosport a couple of weeks ago, but it's his second podium of the season. He's making it a habit when he does pick up AM podiums to pick them up in the first race of the day. And well, he mentioned to me only moments ago that he's hoping it doesn't go the way it did at Mosport 2 weeks ago, where after that second place position in the AM class, it all went terribly wrong in races 2 and 3, and he'll be hoping for a bit of consistency and back-to-back podiums if he can, if not at least top 5s. But it was a great race still for Quartermaster Motorsport, not just for Andy, but also we saw for Jonathan Berry taking P4 just behind him, missing out on the AM podium, but still an absolutely solid result. As we do return to the race in action here at Monza, and we're only 4 minutes away from going to the grid once again. Well, there's a lot of big talking points about race number 1, and perhaps the understated one, with the main headline being that this man taking the victory from Wayne Douglas. William Guthrie just sneaking in the win right at the end of the race, coming out of the final corner in that drag race to the checker flag, was the underperformance of the Hyundai Elantras. The highest finishing Hyundai Elantra was Alex Meredith, who took P20. Indeed, it's absolutely incredible to think because the last time we visited Monza, we did see, and that was, I believe, 3 seasons ago, unless I'm mistaken, we did see the Elantra right up there battling inside the top 10 for a number of drivers, but not to be this time around. And it does seem as though perhaps the Hyundai Elantra is starting to fall from grace at certain circuits, albeit this man who wasn't able to make race number 1, but he's now here for race number 2, Craig Tillerson, our number 34 driver of Rhino Academy in the AM class. He might try to prove otherwise with regards to the performance of the Elantra in the AM class, at least, if not overall. And you never know, perhaps some drivers out there are struggling to make it work, where others are making the magic happen. But speaking of a magical first race, well, one man who definitely had a great first race, finishing inside the overall top 5 and taking prime victory, Russell Fowler for Verano Esports. And well, we're going to try and see if we can grab a quick word with him, ladies and gentlemen, very shortly, as we're going to try and get the patch through to Russell Fowler's car in short order. And if we can, well, we'll be able to hear from the man himself and have him explain how he feels about what has been a fantastic first race of the day. As we now get the patch through to his car. Good evening to you, Russell, and have you got a time for a quick chat?
Yeah, go for it.
Russell, a brilliant race number 1, taking not only the prime victory, but also a top 5 overall. I mean, you must be absolutely ecstatic to have done that for Verano Esports.
I am very pleased indeed, yes, I cannot lie. It can be, I think the best tactic here is just to stay out of trouble, which is what I did, for a change.
Now, I've got to ask, was there a temptation to scrap a bit more for that overall podium? Because there were multiple occasions where it looked like it was coming home and it wasn't quite, but something tells me perhaps a little voice on your shoulder said, Russell, don't throw it away, you can win the prime class here.
Yeah, his name is Matt, and he was in my ear saying, don't throw it away, it's a class win. So I was very tempted, I have to say. You have to switch that instinct off, in these situations, but yeah, no, I'm really pleased. I was really fighting the temptation in that last lap, particularly, where I can see the podium positions right there. But yeah, I think I did the right thing.
Oh, most certainly. Can we expect a repeat of race 1 and race 2, another prime win?
I think that will be difficult with the ballast. We'll see. I haven't done a lot of running with the extra weight, so play it by ear, stay out of trouble, see where I end up. Basically.
We'll wish you all the best luck for race number 2, Russell. We'll leave you to it as you've only got a few seconds before you head to the grid, but we'll see you at the checker flag.
Yeah, great to talk to you, Paul. Cheers.
So hearing it there from Russell Fowler, some quick thoughts there, and well, I can imagine that right now the temptation, as he was mentioning, to try and battle for what would have been, the third place spot on the overall podium, but in the end, bringing on home the prime win was the greater priority, and saying that the voice on his shoulder was none other than Matt Emmons, I do believe, the team leader at Verano Esports, the team for this season, and therefore I think Matt guiding Russell to that victory in terms of advising him what to do and what not to do. And speaking of Matt, here he is in the #1 car for Verano Esports, running the one, of course, in commemoration of his Season 7 AM Championship crown. And, well, right now, whilst maybe Russell taking the headlines, could it be his teammate Matt who's able to make headlines in race 2, or who will make the headlines in race 2? Well, for all that and more, it's time to head to the grid, ladies and gentlemen. And as our drivers make the way onto the grid, this is how they'll line up for our second race of the day. William Guthrie lines up on pole position after that last-minute victory in race #1. The Full Tilt Motorsport driver is joined on the front row of the grid by Wayne Douglas of Douglas Motorsport. Behind them, on row #2, it's Nick Clemens of iRacing Esports and Verano Esports' Russell Fowler, your pro and winner in race #1, and he'll look to try and make it happen again in race #2, but is concerned about the success ballast and what it could do to his chances. Starting P5, Jamie Dory for NXTGEN Pink in the company of his teammate Gavin Gardner. Lee Horn starts P7 for NXTGEN Orange Whiskey Runners Racing, eager to try and put a fork between the NXTGEN Pink drivers. He was trying to do it towards the end of race 1, but couldn't find it. Can he do it in race 2? Alternatively, could Tom Davidson, who starts P8 in this race for the Sim Racing Collective, find a way to inch ahead of the 36 driver in the battle of the two Hondas? Dan Mould starts P9 for SRL NXTGEN Gold in the company of championship leader Mikey Doble for Doble Sim Racing, who completes your top 10. And then best of rest P11, Benjamin McCluskey for NXTGEN Pink, who starts much like where he started in race #1, but can he make any forward progress this time around? Isaac Doble starts P12 for Doble at Sim Racing just alongside him, and then on the 7th row of the grid, it's Mark Sykes, shot and winner in race #1. NXTGEN Orange Whiskey Runners Racing trial feel confident he can perhaps make it 2 out of 2, barring circumstance in the 499, with Reese Watt alongside him starting P14 for JWM Motorsport. Adam Delmont lines up P15 for SO and NXTGEN Gold, and he's in the company of Duncan Rice for Goldwing Motorsport. Sam Van Oel starts P17, his teammate just behind, and then the Sim Racing Collective's Andrew Point starts P18, with Jaroslaw Cebula for NXTGEN Pink and Alex Meredith for NXTGEN Orange Whiskey Runners Racing, making up your 10th row and completing the top 20. P21 goes the way of SRL NXTGEN Gold to Lewis Delmont ahead of Stuart Winers for Track Scotland. Expect fireworks between the two of them, much like at the end of race 1. And then we can see Toby Prosser started P23 for Aztec Racing, and behind him he's got the company of teammate Matthew Cheverton. On row at number 13, we then have Alan McCain for Iris Esports ahead of Ben Gregory for Full Tilt Motorsport, where Ben Altria started P27 behind his teammate, and then Sam Smith starts P28 for Iris Esports. It's going to be a battle between those two teams, but don't rule out Marcel Fritchen or that the Verano Academy driver who starts P2 in the AM class, and we know he's got a lot of progress to make if he wants to chase down Mark Sykes, but another P2 in the AM class would not go amiss. He starts P29 ahead of Daniel Downing for Goldwyn Motorsport, who's had a difficult day so far on his arrival in the pro class. Outside the top 30, P41, it's Michael Lees for JWM Motorsport ahead of national racing teams at Gilberto Struck. Then we have Andy Chell started P3 in the AM class, P33 overall for Quartermass Motorsport, ahead of Goldwing Motorsport's Andy Fox, who was telling me in the run-up to today the fact that it really was going to be today that surely his luck has to change at some point, given he's had a lot of bad luck over the course of the season so far, and well, he's not had too much luck so far here at Monza, but perhaps his luck will turn in race #2. Alternatively, will the luck continue for Jonathan Berry for Quartermass Motorsport, starts P35, head of Gabriel Yilmaz for Aztec Racing. We then have on row number 19 the pairing of Lewis Mason for Aztec Racing and his teammate Gabriel Papaconstantinu, with Josh Brown starting P39 for National Racing Team ahead of William Kurtler for Aztec Racing. That's your top 40. P41 is Kieran Smart for Track Scotland ahead of Matt Emmons, the Verano Esports driver, and to try and make a bit more progress in this race. Kevin Smith starts P43 for Verano Academy ahead of Sammy Ariba for Quartermass Motorsport. Dylan Hunter for DH Racing lines up P45 ahead of James Mansescal for Aztec Racing after their altercation in race 1. Then it's Jonathan Collins for NXTGEN Orange Whiskey Runners Racing and Joe Doble on what is the penultimate roll of the grid for Doble Sim Racing. The final full row of the grid is Sam Bradley P49 for SO NXTGEN Gold and Eduardo Gonzaga for National Racing Team. And then starting at the back of the grid by his lonesome, P51, Craig Tillerson for Verano Academy. He missed race 1, but he's got plenty to do in races 2 and 3. But as we look back down to the start-finish line, ladies and gentlemen, well, there is William Guthrie, and he will know now all the pressure sits on his shoulders. It's a long run down towards turn number 1. But will it be Guthrie or will it be Douglas who takes victory, or could we see a driver behind make the way through? Well, there's 5 red lights to get us underway. There they are, and without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it's lights out and away we go for race number 2 as William Guthrie launches off the line. Wayne Douglas does the same as well, but look at Nick Clemens behind. The Irish Esports Audi RS3 driver tucks in behind Guthrie and immediately starts to usher him along as they charge their way down towards turn number 1. Oh, goodness me, major incident in the rear of the picture, and that, surely that is not Andy Shelby. No, it's not. It's one of the foremost motorcycle cars. I think that Sammy Ariba has been turned round, and there's been a car collected as part of that. We'll give you an update on that when we can, but as the field roars and romps its way through Cobo Bazzano and up towards the Regina chicane, William Guthrie right now under pressure from Nick Clemens, and Clemens looking out the inside immediately here onto the anchors into Regina, and Clemens with a lighter car. He's going to try and close the door, but he can't quite complete the move as they come out of the chicane. Meanwhile, further instant behind into the gravel, and when there's multiple cars that have gone the wrong way there, and well, we're not quite sure whom at the moment, but what I can tell you is that it's all gone wrong in race number 2 on the open lap, whereas it was a relatively sedate race 1 opening lap. But meanwhile, those who've been able to survive the carnage, they've been able to press on, and as we can see here, Isaac Doble already tucked in behind none other than Lee Horn. Mikey Doble up into P7 a little bit further up the rope. Tom Davidson's also crept through there, and the Lee Horn has lost 2 places for the price of 1 race start. As the drivers make the way down Seraglio, you can see that Mikey Doble already trying to tease out a move on Russell Fowler, but decides against it this time around. Further back, Mark Sykes, the AM leader who started P13, he's P16. He's got Duncan Rice and Jaroslaw Cebula fighting just behind him as they make a bit of contact then, Moraes and Cebula, and well, I think Cebula having to back out of that one as Alex Meredith now tucks in behind the sister team Next Gen driver, albeit Meredith I think will have his own ideas here. The number 19 driver in P19 when he decides to try and help Cebula move along, and that way they can make some progress together and make some more places rather than hold each other up. But coming down to the braking zone here for Parabolica Curve, well, they stay as they were. Meanwhile, further back, Matthew Cheverton, who's gained or lost nothing at the start of this race. Well, he's going to lose a lot now as he gets ushered out there to the outside. I think there was some contact there with what's Ben Gregory, and you can see Cheverton flashing his lights as he comes back onto the racing line. And well, now Ben Gregory trying to look one way, then the other, versus Sam Smith and also Stuart Winers. And well, he'd love to go to that inside beyond the white line on the right of him, but he can't do so as that's not track limits. And therefore, as they make the way down towards turn number 1, where it's going to be Gregory here as to play the patience game coming into this round as our Prime Championship leader is promoted, and well, as they make the way in towards turn 1, well, right now he's finding that championship lead is not going to be in his grasp enough longer if he were to finish here right now. But Sam Smith there tries to carry on the speed, runs out to the grass, rejoins, and as he does so, Wine is there. Well, he doesn't flinch at all, and Smith manages to keep it under control. Brilliant racing between them, and Gregory and Cheverton now going to have part 2 of their battle, and Gregory in the end manages to hold him off for the time being as there's a lot of smoke up there. I think there's been an incident just up the road. If not, that is a huge amount of gravel that's been kicked up into the air, and with the dry air here in Italy today, no wonder it's lingering for so long as there's very little wind to blow it away. But meanwhile, speaking of being blown away, we're blown away by the fact that Andy Chels had an even better start to this race, moving all the way up the order into P29 and into P2 in the AM class. He's leapt ahead, Marcel Fritsch has dropped down, and Gabriel Newman is quite ahead of Fritsch as they head up towards what will be Ascari. But as they do, it's the party of the seas here in Chel and Fox. I would say it's the battle of the 2 Andys. Fox on the right, or your picture on the inside, Chel on the left. Fox backs out there, and meanwhile, Kieran Smart inches his way on through, and now it's going to be Gabriel Yilmaz trying to go round the outside to inside through Ascari and makes contact with Fox. Meanwhile, is that Papa Constanzo who's been speared off? No, it's not. That's Lewis Mason who's been sent all the way out, and well, we can't quite get the picture on Lewis Mason at the moment. There he is, he rejoins, but the Aztec Racing car has been sent to the barrier there on the exit of Ascari, and well, you can see there the suspension is crab in the fact the car's pointed slightly at an angle, but to drive it in a straight line, he's got to have the steering wheel pointed off centre. But meanwhile, that's the end of lap number 2, and as we come on to lap number 3, Nick Clemens is still your race leader for now as they charge the way on down after taking the lead of this race on the open lap. William Guthrie keeps him for close company, and then we have Wayne Douglas P3, Jamie Dory P4, as Dory making some great progress at the start of this race. Mikey Doble and Gavin Garler fighting over P5 behind, and well, right now it is Doble who's got his nose ahead in the battle of the 2 Audis, but for how long, as this top 10 is being dominated by Audi RS3s now. As they head down to the braking zone for the third time of asking for Regia, and Doble on the outside to inside. Gardner stays there, but then has to lift off on the approach to the second apex to avoid taking Doble with him to the gravel trap, and therefore Mikey Doble will steal the move. Meanwhile, it's been an instant further back, and that is the car of what is, I believe, it's an extra pink. Oh, that's Jaroslaw Cebula has been turned sideways. Oh my good lord! And that is none other than what was, I believe, Michael Lees doing a barrel roll there slightly on camera, and it is absolute carnage at Lesmo 1 as drivers try to rejoin left, right and centre, but well, there's Michael Lees trying to crawl along, and we're going to have to get a replay of that shortly, ladies and gentlemen. You do not normally see a car roll like that, let alone do a flip in mid-air, and well, Michael Lees right now, maybe the simulator, but I can imagine he's going to be absolutely shaken, if not stirred by that, and as the drivers make their way to speed, short wine is one of many of the drivers caught up in that instant. We'll have to get a replay to understand what exactly happened, but we can't pause right now because we've got a freeway fight going on here for what is none other than P5 in the AM class. Marcel Fritsch battling with none other than Jonathan Collins and also Josh Brown, and there's contact there as Collins tries to negotiate the battle around the outside of Marcel Fritsch with where's the car of Nathan Brown just in front, but we've got the safety car deployed on the start for the straight, ladies and gentlemen, and therefore we are under safety car conditions now as our racing across the timeline, albeit everybody else who is racing, who's on the previous lap, is allowed to race up towards the timeline as well. Contact there as that's a car into the barrier, and that's Gabriel Papakonstantou, who's been, no, in fact I think that's Papakonstantou who's been turned the wrong way. Yes it is, I was right the first time as he rejoins, and as he does, well there's Sam Van Olst has to try and find a way to safely make his way around the stricken Cypriot who gets it turned around, but my good lord, we've got a lot to unpack in the space of that one lap, and thankfully we do have a safety car period in order to unpack it. But in terms of where we stand in terms of this race, we do see the new Aston Martin V8 Vantage safety car making its way out there, the GT4 machine being driven by our safety car driver, our equivalent of Bert Meilander of Gaz Williams. He takes it on around with Clemens ahead of Wayne Douglas, with Jamie Dory, William Guthrie and Mikey Doble completing your top 5. Your prime leader is Russell Fowler, who's P8, and then his runner-up rival at the moment, if racial as fish as it is Reese Watt, who's currently P2 in prime, P12 overall, and then we have in what is 16th place your AM leader Mark Sykes. A little bit behind him meanwhile is Andy Schell, the second place AM driver, who's P20, and well, though that's the quick update in regards to where everybody is out of the circuit, but let's get a replay of the instance over the opening 3 laps, starting with what happened to Sammy Ariba on the opening lap. This was at the race start. Well, the race start, they're coming into contact with James Smazerskow that sent Ariba sideways, and in the end collecting the 69 car of what was none other than Sam Bradley. So a nightmare start for the pair of them, and that explains why both of them had to tow to the pits. I think there was a bit more so that meets the eye potentially, but that's what we saw. And then we had an instant in what was the Regia chicane, and this was Toby Prosser as they all made their way into the braking zone. Oh, goodness me, and that was one of the Irish Esports cars being speared in the back and going backwards. I'm not quite sure which driver it was, and then Toby Prosser being turned sideways there, but I think contact with Ben Gregory or Ben Ultria. I think that might have been Ben Ultria in fact, but Toby Prosser being turned around, and well, that would explain. And in fact, I believe Ben Ultria was the one caught up in that. And well, in terms of the Irish Esports car that was caught up, that was none other than what was Alan McCain, who ended up being victim there and ended up pointing the wrong way. And we will take a look back at that from the onboard. This was McCain coming to the braking zone, comes in late on the brakes, and then gets tapped to the rear. And well, the Irish Esports car just ends up drifting across the road, collects another car, and well, that explains what happened to Tom Davidson, I believe, who was also collected there and sent the wrong way round. And well, that will explain the entire story in a very quick period of time with regards to what happened at the start of the race in terms of lap number 1. But you briefly return to your race pictures, ladies and gents, as the field continues to make its way on through behind the safety car, and we've got a few more instances now dissect, particularly on what happened there on lap number 2 and also lap number 3. And well, in terms of what was what was with regards to lap number 2, here's a replay of Andy Fox firstly, and what happened to him, and this was coming into Lesmo number 2, and I believe it was just a brief off track in the footsteps there of none other than Gilberto Struck. But there was an instant before all this we would like to try and get a view of, but I don't think we're going to be able to get the replay cameras on it, ladies and gentlemen. So therefore what we will do is we're going to instead default the instant on what was lap number 3, and this instant was including Jaroslaw Cebula, and well, this was coming on through Regia. There was the initial contact, Cebula tapping sideways the car of none other than Duncan Rise, and then it all concertinaed from there, and then the SO NXTGEN gold car being turned, and well, we need to take a look back at the cars that were more involved in that instant, including was Michael Lees, who made his way through. I think he tried to clear the incident as it was unfolding in front of him, and in the end, Michael Lees be collected there alongside Stuart Winess and also what was Sam Van Olst, and Lees was not able to control the car at that point. He was just a passenger, and that led to further contact. We saw Lewis Delmont get caught up in it, and indeed a whole host of drivers all end up in a nasty incident, that domino effect there. We ride on board with Lewis Delmont here in the replay. Mark Sykes also involved in that one and lucky to get away with it, but Delmont hit just a passenger as well. And, well, an absolute nightmare. And there was Michael Lees barrel rolling through the air, as then we did see the Full Tilt Motorsport car come charging into the scene of the incident, and that Full Tilt Motorsport car, I believe, was Ben Altria. And, well, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, as we return to your live racing pictures, and I see Kerr Worry there, who we say hello to, also Stock 3090, also to Welsh Boy 2012 and Joey. And, well, Kerr Worry saying that 10 points for the barrel roll, and indeed, if we were going for style points, that's one way to stylishly make your way out of the race, but a nightmare moment there for Michael Lees and so many drivers. And, well, with that, we have been informed that the safety car will be in at the end of this lap, so therefore we will complete lap 5 under the safety car. We're going to spin 2 laps under the safety car, and then we will have what will be 6 laps of racing remaining at full pace, ladies and gentlemen. And well, as our safety car begins to peel away, Nick Clemens dictates the pace here. The safety car has still got past the pit entry line before we can go racing, so Clemens will take his time, and we should point out it has to get past the pit entry line by the time Clemens were to overtake the safety car, if you will. So therefore, that's why he's backed the field up as much as he can, and Clemens has started going already as they power their way down towards turn number one. Turn number one of the restart, but turn number 9 on the circuit, and Clemens is go, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Remember, they're not allowed to overtake until they get to the start-finish line. So as they roar their way out of the final quarter, Nick Clemens timing this and timing it well, as that's giving him 0.5 of a second breathing room as they go on to lap number 6. Meanwhile, further behind Benjamin McCuskey, well, he's caught up to the back of Isaac Doble, but he can't overtake right now, and that's a very frustrating moment for the number 28 driver. So he would love to, I think, have got ahead, but he's had to back out of it and tuck back in instead. But the rules are the rules, and he's adhering to them much like every other driver is expected to. And the NXTGEN pink driver right now having to wait his turn to try and make some more progress. But as they roar their way through turn number 1, we're back up to racing speed here. And, well, Russell Fowler just in front of the 2, the prime leader, just keeping his head down. And, well, I'm sorry to report as well, ladies and gentlemen, that Mark Sykes was caught up in that incident that we did see on lap number 3 coming out of turn 3. And the damage was enough to force the car into the pit lane. So therefore, Mark Sykes, after that winning race 1, it's not going to be a win in race number 2 by looks of things, as meanwhile Isaac Doble going as defensive as possible here into Lesbos to keep Benjamin McCuskey behind. But what that does mean is that now your new AM leader is none other than Andy Chell, who's just behind Kieran Smart here, the Courtmaster Motorsport car, being passed there by the Track Scotland 39 Elantra. And, well, Kieran Smart trying to make a bit more progress here and move his way into what will be the top 3 of the prime class. Sam Smith and Duncan Rice are the 2 drivers he needs to pick off in front of him in order to be able to get that done. And meanwhile, they roar the way down. Well, meanwhile, I'm hearing there's actually in fact been an instant for, what was Mark Sykes on the restart. And, well, with that, we will try and get a replay of that. It's not for what was the damage that we picked up over the course of the lap 3 incident, but we do have a replay, and here it is, ladies and gentlemen. And in fact, Mark Sykes was crawling along, so in the end the car did have to come into the pit lane, and there is the replay footage to show you what happened to Mark Sykes. And, well, this was, I believe, well, in fact, Mark Sykes on the safety car lap. What happened to Mark Sykes then? This was coming on through Ascari, as we just caught this footage has been fed to us, and it was coming on through Ascari, and just under braking as the field concertinaed up, the rear let go, ran a lot of rear brake bias, and Sykes into the barrier out of the lead of the AM class. And, well, as we return to live racing pictures, that is an unfortunate incident there, an unexpected one, but we've got to come back to the racing here, ladies and gentlemen, because Jamie Dorey has found his way into the lead battle, and right now on lap number 7 leads this race, albeit only by a nose, but finally gets ahead of Nick Clemens as they muscle their way down towards turn 2 and 3. But as they come down in towards the braking zone, you can see there, looking up the inside, is none other than Mikey Doble, and whatever Jamie can do, Mikey thinks he can do too. But Nick Clemens says, no, you don't. One at a time if you're all going to try and come through. As they head in towards the Lesbos, we're coming in towards turn number 4. Right now, it's Nick Clemens who's trying to keep everybody behind, but Dory in a much lighter car is roaring away. Meanwhile, Mikey Doble at the inside there, and Clemens running wide at Lesbo 1. He's not going to be able to that as they all snake trail into each other there. because Tita affecting full force, and Mikey Doble now will be trying to get things to settle down behind him as he's 1.5 seconds away from Jamie Dory and at risk of potentially losing the slipstream of the 2-time champion. And well, the 3-time champion, to be fair, he can make miracles happen, but that might be a bridge too far in terms of making it happen. Meanwhile, William Guthrie here up the inside of Wayne Douglas. These two reigniting their battle from what was race number 1, albeit it was the lead in race 1. This time it's a P6 in race number 2 as they make the way up towards turn number 9. And these drivers right now running nose to tail here inside the top 10, and there's plenty of action to come. I don't doubt it for a second, given the fact we've still got 4 laps to go after this one. As we can see there, Isaac Doble also looking for a potential move. Guthrie should one come about. But looking a bit further down the order, we've had a number of pro drivers that have shuttled down the order, a number of primes who've been pushed down the order, and that has unleashed a number of AMs to be fighting over P22 and P23 and what is for second place in the AM class. And for the first Quartermass Motorsport attempt to a 1-2 here today at Monza, and Jonathan Berry right now in P2 in the AM class has got Eduardo Gonzaga and Jonathan Collins behind him, and the National Racing Team driver has not finished P2 on the podium this season in the AM class, and Collins meanwhile has had multiple podiums by comparison. So Gonzaga right now is looking for the taste of champagne, and the Brazilian driver, he looks up the inside here, coming down the start finish straight in towards turn 1. You can see Collins there flash his lights to send the signal to Gonzaga, which is I'm not fighting, it's I'm tucking into the toe. They've got Andrew Pipe company just behind as Pipe looks up the inside of Collins. Gonzaga there runs a little bit deep, going slowly back. Here's Josh Brown who's lifted off on the inside line, and Wine is doing the same respect. And the blue flags, it's all going wrong for Collins, and as a result there's going to be another major shunt further behind as the whole field comes into the scene of the incident. Smags and Gal caught up there. Also, where's Joe Doble? It is drama and disaster coming in towards Regia this time rather than leaving it. But Jonathan Collins, I'm not quite sure what sent him on his way, but I can tell you that Jonathan Collins now falls out that battle for the AM podium, and if anything, it's going to release Jonathan Berry and Eduardo Gonzaga to their own devices. William Kurtner now on his return to the grid for Season 8 this round. He looks to try and hold off Gabriel Yilmaz, his Aztec Racing teammate, for that full place spot in the AM class. And these two right now, I think they'll be happy with a double top 5 for the team, but I think both of them would want that P4 a little bit more than the other. You can see there Daniel Downing in close behind as well, and Downing just trying to find some places here, having had a dismal race 1, and race number 2 has not been much to shout home about right now. And for Daniel Downing, this really has been a nightmare start to his Pro Championship campaign since his promotion from Prime Class after round 3. As they come for Ascari, well, they have to go to line formation for now as Matt Evans and Alan McCain also tucked to the back of this long line of cars, and the snake trail here makes its way into a parabolic corner, all in with Evans and McCain side by side for a brief moment with the battle, albeit there you can see now it's going to be Daniel Downing going defensive as Evans looks around the outside. McCain tries to look up the inside of Evans. The two prime drivers fighting for the final spot inside the prime top 10. Evans trying to hold on to it for now, but I think they're getting caught up too tightly behind Downing, and therefore you are going to see McCain just get slightly ahead here as they go on to lap number 9, but at this time it looks like Evans will be out of the tow and he'll be out of speed as a result. As they make the way onwards towards turn number 1, well, meanwhile looking even further down the order, I can tell you we've got Michael Lees trying to find his way on past Craig Tillerson, and Tillerson, who's avoided most of the drama, the AM driver who started from the very back of the field, he's up in a P38 and P7 in the AM class. He'll be happy with that one should he bring it home. Given the fact that'll be a good set of points as he makes his way on through turn number 1. But roaring his way in towards Regia, Michael Lees taking down one AM driver and now looking to take on any others up in front. As you can see Lewis Delmont doing the same to Tillerson. Lees coming a bit late on the brakes, so that's taking evasive action there, and well, that'll be the gravel on the circuit, also causing the car to understeer a little bit under braking and not have as much grip on the tyres or under retardation with the braking, and Lees now having to go defensive versus Lewis Delmont as Delmont looking for a way round. But this is fighting for the last scraps of the points of the prime top 15. They're fighting for P13, P14 respectively in class, P37, P38 out on circuit. But as they come up towards what will be at the Seraglio curve, meanwhile we need to take a look back at what exactly happened to none other than Jonathan Collins, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the replay from lap 8. And it looks as though there was contact between Collins and Smazisgal, and then Joe Doble in contact with the Going Motorsport car around him of what was none other than, I do believe, the Going Motorsport car there as we try to discern it. Well, we can't quite get a bead on whose car that was at this time, but those were the main 4 involved in that incident. Everyone else came into the scene of it, but returned to live pitch, ladies and gentlemen, and what a nightmare lap 8 for the drivers there, particularly Jaroslaw Collins. But meanwhile, back at the front of the road, onto the penultimate lap we go. Jamie Dory still holding off Mikey Doble, and well, these two right now, they're pushing each other to the limit, and then some. And well, two of the most decorated drivers on the NXTCC grid right now battling for what is the race 2 win here, and where it went to Mikey Doble in race 2 in Portugal. But I think Jamie Dory would love an opportunity to take one back in return here, as well, race wins overall, they come very rarely for any driver here, and for a driver to get multiple overall wins in a given night, well, that is a statistic that is very hard to achieve, and few have done it over the NXTCC's history. But Dory here still holding on for now, ahead of Mikey Doble with Nick Clemens behind. It's a top 4 of Audis with Gavin Gardner also in the fight, but as they roar their way on out of Lesbo 2, we can see it Davidson right now just waiting there, and Andrew Pike, we should correct ourselves, we said Tom Davidson was the one caught up in the early instance of this race. It was Andrew Pike, the Sim Racing Collective car, that was caught up there. So the 42 of Tom Davidson very safely here inside the top 5, but as I head upwards towards what is Ascari. Meanwhile, behind Wayne Douglas and Dan Mould fighting. Mould having to go defensive there as they head in towards the chicane, albeit I believe Mould getting the run out of Lesbo, enabling to get alongside. So Mould is the attacker here, and Douglas falling in behind, and with a difference in weight of the cars, with Wayne Douglas carrying 49 kilograms of success ballast, Dan Mould having a lot less in the car. In fact, I think only having about 12 kilograms. Therefore, there's going to be a notable difference between the two velocities in terms of their acceleration out of the corners by default, and that's before you put the driver ability in and how well they've nailed a given corner as they make the way out of the Parabolica curve. Benjamin McCluskey right behind William Guthrie there as well, and we do go on to the final lap of racing in race number 2 of the day here, ladies and gentlemen. We stay affixed for a brief, in fact we don't stay affixed to the top 10, because more has happened further down the order, and there's been a change of AM leader, and it's Eduardo Gonzaga who has found his way past Andy Chell, and here's the replay to explain it. And Chell having a very poor run through the chicane of turns 2 and 3. Gonzaga up the inside there for National Racing Team, and to take what was the lead of the AM class. We will try and come back and catch the rest of that later in terms of their battle. But meanwhile, Mikey versus Jamie up front. That's Mikey Doble versus Jamie Dory, and well, these two friends off the circuit, fierce rivals on the circuit, and Mikey Doble there making sure to give himself as much width as possible and forcing Jamie Dory to battle now with Nick Clemens as they make the way up towards Lesbo 1. Clemens on the inside there, and Dory being shuttled down the order as they roar their way up towards what will be Lesbo 2. Meanwhile, you can see behind Gavin Gardner and Isaac Doble getting very tasty behind them as Dory goes wide. Nick Clemens understeers as well, forcing Dory out wide, but Dory will get P2 back, and as they pound their way down the Serraglio straight, Mikey Doble at this point is just running away with things. Gavin Gardner now trying to creep his way onto the podium, the first podium we've seen from Gavin Gardner in multiple seasons, I do believe. And as they head in towards Ascari, well, Doble right now surely will feel safe here, but Jamie Dory and Gavin Gardner, the next gen peak drivers, are trying to make it a double podium and give themselves a huge boost of points in their respective campaigns and the team's championship. But Tom Davidson's there, he's moved up to P4. Nick Clemens has been barreled down to P6 in all of this as they power their way up towards the final corner of this race. And as they do, you can see that Clemens having to go defensive to the inside. He's got Wayne Douglas and Dan Mould all over him as they roar the way into the corner. But meanwhile, much like he did at Portugal, it may not have been a win in race number 1, but a bit of magic from Mikey Doble means the number 88 will come on through to take victory in race number 2. The checker flag waves, and it falls to Mikey Doble ahead of Jamie Dory and Gavin Gardner. That's your top 3. Then Tom Davidson P4 ahead of Isaac Doble, who returns to the top 5 after a significant hiatus. Nick Clemens P6, Wayne Douglas P7, Dan Mould P8 ahead of Adam Dillon, Benjamin McCluskey, and then William Guthrie, Bester P11. Reese Watt took victory in the Pro-Am class off of Russell Fowler for JWM Motorsport, P12 there, Russell Fowler P13, and then Eduardo Gonzaga has held on for AM victory, P21. The National Racing Team ahead of Andy Chell, runner-up in the AM class. So that's maiden win in the AM class, yet to come the way of Andy Chell. But for Eduardo Gonzaga, it's his first AM win of the season. And what a victory that will be for the number 92 driver. Again, it all done the penultimate lap and not looking back. We have still got some drivers to finish this race, Lee Horn being one of them, as he makes his way up towards what is Parabolica curve. You can also see there Matthew Sheraton just behind, and well, as they make the way through the last couple of corners, we'll get to see exactly here in the end of their race, and then I think we are going to get a replay of how Rees-Watt found his way into the lead of the Prime class on what was lap number 7, and he never looked back after that as Lee Horn finishes P43, Matthew Sheraton P44, and then we do have Mark Sykes, who'll be the last lead lap finisher after that spin under the safety car conditions just before the restart, which saw him go all the way down from the AM lead towards the back of the pack. But still, the 499 driver will know that it's just one race and it's not a championship season, and well, he'll have to dig deep for the final race of the day if he wants to make his way back onto the AM podium. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to cut straight to a replay here of what happened to Rees-Watt on lap number 7 to take the lead of the Prime class from Russell Fowler, and it was coming out of the Regia chicane. Russell Fowler making an error, much like we saw from Andy Chell coming through there for Eduardo Gonzaga, and Watt exactly mirroring that move and getting ahead and having the benefit of what was there while the SRL with Next Gen Racing Gold machines looking up the inside, and I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, that would have been the car of Lewis Delmont that found its way. In fact, no, that would have been Adam Delmont that found its way through, and that explains how Rees-Watt got the move done. And what a race from lights out to checker flag, no doubt about it. But as Mikey Doble was coming to the pit lane, Dory and Garen Gardner complete the podium. Well, we've got a few more drivers to make their way into the pit, including this man, Andy Chell, and just in front of him, Eduardo Gonzaga, who has taken the AM win there for National Racing Team, his first of the season, and the number 92 driver there will be absolutely jumping up and down in joy, because Josh Brown really has been the man who's led the way for the team, but today it's Gonzaga who seems to be finding all the pace when he needs it most. But with that, let's take a look at those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries, and here they are. Mikey Doble taking victory then, come at the 11 laps of racing for race 2 of round 4 of season 8 of the NXTCC powered by Doble Motorcycles, and Mikey Doble taking victory for Doble Sim Racing by 6 tenths over Jamie Dory. The Next Gen Pink driver leading home a 2-3 ahead of teammate Gavin Gardner, and how long has it been, ladies and gentlemen, since we've seen Gavin Gardner on the overall podium? It's lovely to see. The usually quiet driver compared to his teammates, but to be fair, he's quiet in the paddock, but he's very fast out on circuit, and the number 11 drivers, his run of bad luck and absences from the podium has finally come to an end. Behind him, Tom Davidson finished P4 for the Sim Racing Collective, just ahead of Isaac Doble for Doble Sim Racing. Irish Esports' Nick Clearings in the end falling down to P6 on the final lap, and a challenging end to the race for the number 13 driver, but still plenty more to come in the final race of the day, and that's what he's got to think about, with Wayne Douglas P7 for Douglas Motorsport ahead of Dan Mould and Adam Delmont, the SL Next Gen Gold pair. Benjamin McCluskey was P10 at the close for Next Gen Pink ahead of William Guthrie. The full tilt Motorsport driver taking best of rest position and no success ballast into the final race of the day, so expect him to be an absolute weapon depending on how we reverse the grid. Rees-Watt was P12, your Pro-Am winner, with that lap 7 move for the lead of the Prime class of JWM Motorsport ahead of Russell Fowler for Rhino Esports, who takes the final guaranteed reverse grid slot position of P13. Alex Meredith was P14 for Next Gen Orange Whisk Runners, making more progress in race 2, and important progress at that. Duncan Rise completed the overall top 15, the final overall point falling to him, and third place in the Prime class as well for the Goldwyn Motorsport driver, and he'll be pleased with that result. Sam Smith just missed out on the top 15, but took P4 in the Prime class, P16 for Irish Esports, ahead of Jaroslaw Cebula, with then Kieran Smart round off the Prime top 5 there, P18 for Track Scotland, and the top 20 was completed by Andy Fox and Andrew Pike. Eduardo Gonzaga took victory with P21 overall for National Racing Team, just ahead of Andy Chell for Quartermass Motorsport, who's had back-to-back P2s, but his first victory of the season has eluded him, whereas Gonzaga has finally taken his first AM win of the season. Sam Van Olst finished P23s in the final eligible reverse grid position for Goldwyn Motorsport ahead of Ben Gregory, with Toby Prosser P25 for Aztec Racing in a brilliant battle with Joe Doble to the checker flag. Gilberto Struck took P27 ahead of Daniel Downing, and then Ben Aldrin, Alan McCain round off your top 30. Gabriel Yilmaz was P31 and third place in the AM class there for Aztec Racing. Well, that big question of who was going to take the third place spot finally answered for the AMs, ahead of Matt Emmons, Michael Leese and William Kurtler. Your top 35 was completed by Lewis Delmont ahead of teammate Sam Bradley, and I'm hearing in my ear that in fact it was Sam Bradley who was caught up in that incident earlier, not Adam Delmont as we thought previously. Then Lewis Mason P37 ahead of Gabriel Papacon San Antonio, and then your top 40 was completed by Craig Tillerson and Kevin Smith. Sammy Reaver P41 ahead of Marcel Fritsch, with Lee Horn at P43. Matthew Sheraton and Mark Sykes completed your top 45 and your last lead lap finishers. And we had finishing a lap down there, Stuart Wyness, Josh Brown, Dylan Hunter, James Pascal, 2 laps down to Jonathan Berry, and 3 laps down to Jonathan Collins. But 51 starters, ladies and gentlemen, all 51 of our drivers finished the race, albeit 45 of them on the lead lap. And that means now it is time to turn our attentions to one final race a day, because we've had an absolutely exciting race number 1, a highly dramatic race number 2. But what will be the adjective that describes race number 3? Well, one thing that will definitely add to the mixture will be where we reverse our grid from. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we do cut to the commentary booth, and we are about to get that reverse grid draw underway. Good evening to you all, and well, it's great so many of you, as I stumble over my words there, enjoying all the racing in our respective chats, whether it be in YouTube, Facebook or Twitch. And we do say hello there to Mark Aiken and also Adam Ezra, who we haven't said hello to previously. But without further ado, here's our lottery bowl. The numbers 6 through to 12 are in the lottery bowl, and what we're going to do shortly is close our eyes, shuffle the balls, and then draw them one by one. We draw 2 balls, we add the numbers together, and that's where we reverse the grid from. And keeping in mind we've had P14, P15 and P16 so far this season, could we see P17 in our ascending order? Well, it's time to find out. There's the shuffle, and we draw our first ball out of the bowl. And for tonight, our first ball is going to be the number 10, which makes another appearance this season so far. We are getting a lot of repeat numbers, and I can assure you we have got even weighting of all the numbers in this lottery bowl. But what will join the number 10? There's the shuffle, and we draw our second and final ball of today. And it is going to be, well, we're not going to continue the string of numbers. We almost get the maximum reverse grid. It is going to be 12 and 10, making it a top 22 reverse grid, which means it will be an AM front row consisting of Andy Chellenpole and Eduardo Gonzaga alongside him. And Andrew Pike and Andy Fox will be the 2 pros who line up behind them. It is going to be an absolutely tense race number 3, I reckon, ladies and gentlemen. And, well, how will it all unfold? We will be back at approximately 8 to 9 minutes time for the build up to race number 3. But before we do step away, of course, a quick word from our title sponsor, Doble Motorcycles. We will see you very shortly. If you are looking to buy your next 2-wheeled machine or ATV, why not consider Doble Motorcycles? Home to an expansive full range of Honda motorcycles, scooters, off-road bikes and ATVs, Doble Motorcycles is the UK's leading Honda motorcycle dealer. However, do not just take our word for it. Having won numerous awards over the years, including 3 Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year awards, and being nominated for many more, including Honda Dealer of the Year 4 times, the Doble family-run business prides itself on customer service, and it shows. Add to this the family's rich racing history through 3 generations, as currently embodied by Mikey Doble Racing, with Mikey chasing glory in the BTCC, and you can be certain that you will receive excellent customer service from lights out to checkered flag. So if you'd like to know more, check out their website today at doble.co.uk. Speaking of Mikey Doble Racing, if you'd like to support Mikey as he pushes it to the limit out on track, you can do so by following the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page as seen on screen. Additionally, if you want to represent the 88 Army at a BTCC weekend, Mikey Doble Racing has some fantastic merchandise available just for you, as may be found either via the Mikey Doble Racing Facebook page or alternatively in the Doble Motorcycle store at dobledirect.co.uk. Don't miss out on being a part of the 88 Army today. And we are back one final time this evening, ladies and gentlemen, for race 3 of 3 of round 4 of season 8 of the Next Gen Racing Touring Car Championship, as brought to you on iRacing and powered by Doble Motorcycles. And what a brilliant pair of races we've had so far. A race number 1 which really set the pace and the tone, and a race number 2 which was full of drama, some major incidents, and the first unveiling of the new Aston Martin safety car for this season, the NXTCC. I mean, 2 contradictory races in terms of how they played out, with no safety car or yellow flags in race number 1, but race number 2 definitely seeing multiple major incidents. But what will race 3 hold is the big question, and well, one man who'll be asking himself that question time and time again is none other than Quartermass Motorsports' Andy Chell. With a top 22 reverse grid, he's found himself inheriting pole position after that runner-up in the AM class in race number 2, making it back-to-back P2s, just missed out versus Eduardo Gonzaga. But now Andy's got the hard work to do from the very front of the grid, and well, I can tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be an uncommon position for the Quartermass Motorsport driver in the number 5, but rather than try and guess what he's thinking, let's see if we can get a patch through to the car from the Quartermass Motorsport driver and hear his thoughts directly with regards to this upcoming race, as we do now try to get the patch through to the car. As we do get a patch through to Andy. Good evening to you, Andy. Have you got time for a quick word?
Yeah, of course I have, Paul. How you doing, mate?
All good, thank you. But more importantly, how are you doing? 2 back-to-back second place in the AM class. I get the feeling you're perhaps hoping for a bit more in race number 2.
Yeah, it got away from me at the end. But, yeah, I mean, onwards and upwards. And, yeah, feeling pretty good. Feeling pretty good.
Now, you say you're feeling pretty good. I have to ask, knowing that you're going to be on pole position overall for the first time in your NXTCC career in this final race of the day, but you've got your rival right alongside you, what's going to be the focus? Is it Eduardo? Is it just surviving the opening lap? Just take us through what you're thinking.
To be honest with you, getting a good launch off the start, that's all I'm going to be thinking about. If Eduardo gets ahead of me at the start, that's fine. He's carrying a bit more weight than I am, so I can hopefully use that to my advantage. Either way, if I get ahead of him, like I say, I've got the weight advantage, so hopefully that'll help me out. And if he beats me off the start, then I'll tuck in behind him and hopefully get the move when I can. My other thing is, obviously, we've got Pro-Ams and Pro-Ams and Pros that are going to be coming through. So that's also going to be a thing. It's going to be managing that and keeping an eye on that traffic. And as if to speak, I'm about to put it in the wall. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting challenge to begin with, but we'll just take it corner by corner for the first couple of laps and see how it goes.
Oh, indeed, I think a smart approach there, Andy. Without further ado, a minute to go before we head to the grid. We're going to leave you to it. Good luck for race number 3, and we'll see you at the checkered flag.
Yeah, you will. Cheers, mate. Thanks.
Speaking there with Andy Chell and hearing his thoughts, and we had to correct ourselves there. A P3 in race 1, a P2 in race number 2, and one man is ascending up the grid very rapidly indeed. And well, will he be able to make it an victory in race number 3? That'll be the challenge that confronts him, and well, as he gets himself set and ready to go, talking about there just wanting to get the launch right and be able to keep Eduardo Gonzaga behind him if he can, and knowing he's got less weight in the car compared to his rival, but also cognizant that he's got a lot of pros and prams behind him, and they will be trying to come through. Well, it is a foggy race number 3. There's a lot of fog in the air, no doubt about it. And well, will that lack of visibility perhaps also have a factor in this race? Well, for all that and more, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to get ourselves set for our 3rd race. If you haven't grabbed yourself liquid refreshment, well, I recommend you do so very quickly, because this is going to be a race you won't want to miss. And well, we're just now going to head to the grid. As our drivers make the way onto the grid, this is how they'll line up for our final race of the day and our final NXTCC race of 2024. Andy Chell lines up on reverse grid at pole position, the top 22 inverted, and the Quartermass Motorsport driver finds himself at the tip of the spear on pole. He is joined on the front row of the grid by fellow AM driver for National Racing Team, Race 2 AM winner Eduardo Gonzaga. Behind them is Andrew Pike for the Sim Racer Collective, the highest placed pro driver in this grid, ahead of rival Andy Fox for Goldwyn Motorsport. Behind them, Kieran Smart starts P5 for Track Scotland ahead of Jaroslaw Cebula for NXTGEN Pink. Then we have Sam Smith at P7 there for iRacing Esports ahead of Duncan Rise for Goldwing Motorsport. Completing the top 10, it's Alex Meredith for NXTGEN Orange with Risky Runners Racing and Russell Fowler for Verano Esports. And Fowler he'll be looking to try and get back against Reece Watt, who starts just behind in P11 after missing out on that prime win in race number 2. Reece Watt took the race number 2 win in the Pro-Am class, and he starts best of rest P11 for JWM Motorsport, head of Full Tilt Motorsport's William Guthrie. And then we have on the 7th row of the grid, Benjamin McCluskey ahead of Adam Delmont with the NXTGEN Pink driver, looking to do battle once again with the SL and NXTGEN Gold car, but knowing the pressure is going to be hot, because right behind is Delmont's teammate Dan Mould for SL and NXTGEN Gold, and then Wayne Douglas for Douglas Motorsport will be looking to get into the fight. Nick Clement starts P17 for iRacing Esports, head of Isaac Doble for Doble Sim Racing, and then started P19 on the 10th row of the grid. It's Tom Davidson for the Sim Racing Collective ahead of Gavin Garner for NXTGEN Pink. P21 is Jamie Dory for NXTGEN Pink ahead of Mikey Doble for Doble Sim Racing, and that's where the inverted grid will finish. And then we do come to the drivers who start where they finished in race number 2. The first to whom started P23 is Sam Van Ols for Goldwing Motorsport, ahead of Ben Gregory for Full Tilt Motorsport, who once again just misses out on that reverse grid pole by 1 or 2 places. Behind them we will have on what is the 13th row of the grid, Toby Prosser for Aztec Racing and Joseph Doble for Doble Sim Racing. Then Gilberto Struck for National Racing Team and Daniel Downing for Goldwing Motorsport, followed up by Ben Altrier for Full Tilt Motorsport and Alan McCain for Iris Esports, who completes your top 30. P31, it's Gabriel Yilmaz for Aztec Racing ahead of Rhino Esports' Matt Emmons, with Michael Lees for JWM Motorsport and Aztec Racing's William Kurtler making up row 17. Row 18 will be Lewis Delmont for SO and NXTGEN Gold and Sam Bradley, his teammate, and what a frustrating day it's been today for the 2 teammates there, and they'll be hoping they can pick up some points before this day is done and dusted. And then on row number 19 behind them, it will be the parent of Lewis Mason for Aztec Racing and Gabriel Papaconstantinou for Aztec Racing, alongside with Rhino Academy's Craig Tillerson carrying on from where he left off in a good result in race number 2, starting their P39 for Rhino Academy ahead of teammate Kevin Smith, who completes your top 40. P41, it's Sammy Ariba for Quartmaster Motorsport ahead of Rhino Academy's Marcel Fridge. Lee Horn starts P43 for NXTGEN Orange Whisk Runners Racing, and it's Matthew Sheraton who joins him on the 22nd row of the grid for Aztec Racing. We then do have Mark Sykes P45 for NXTGEN Orange Whisk Runners Racing ahead of Track Scotland Stuart Wyness, and then on the last couple of rows of the grid we have Josh Brown for National Racing Team and Dylan Hunter for DH Racing. Then it'll be James Maslersgow on row number 25 for Aztec Racing ahead of Jonathan Berry for Quartmaster Motorsport, and starting last but not least P51 after that nightmare mid-portion of the race in race 2, Jonathan Collins for NXTGEN Orange Whiskey Runners Racing will have it all to do from the very back of the grid. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it has been 2 very challenging races for our drivers. We've got one more to go and the fog has settled in. It's hard to see all the drivers there, but I can assure you they're all there and ready to go on the grid as the lights are coming on. And as they do, it's going to be 1 red light, 2 red light, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for a race 3 of 3 here in round 4 of the championship. And Andy Cho looks to get away, but look at that, it's a slow start from Gonzaga. He's practically stalled on the grid, and as he does get up to speed, he's been swarmed by Pike, Fox, Smart. Also, there's Cebula, who've had an instant right at the rear of the pitch. That's Jonathan Berry and James Maslersgow have had to come in together, and we'll have to try and get a replay of that when we can. But meanwhile, Andy Cho has got the launch he wanted off the line, and meanwhile, Smart and Pike now are fighting side by side coming into turn number 1, roaring the way on through, and as they do, the blimp camera just about makes them out as they roar on down underneath us as they head towards the braking zone. And there you can see Smart this time holding on to what is P3 ahead of Andy Fox, with now where's the move being made there, as meanwhile I think Chell's gone straight on. Chell's gone on, he's taken to the escape road. That will be a black flag. He will have to slow down and give up time as a result of that, and that is going to release Pike into lead this race. Meanwhile the rest of the field's going through, and they go 4 wide into a space that's wide enough for 3. Evasive action for a number of drivers, and Adam Delmont at the end is sidelined to the barrier. But how they managed to get away from that and it not end in tears, I do not know, but they were able to get away with that just about. My goodness. And well, we'll have to take a look back at that, but Alan McCain there were also involved in the incident. A nightmare moment for many a driver, and it could have been far, far worse as the field continues its way on down towards Serracleo and up towards Lascari. But as they roar the way on down, William Kurtler now for Aztec Racing, he's holding on here versus Joe Doble as they fly over P20, and as they head in towards Ascari corner in towards left-hander. Well, there you can see Doble trying to look his way up the inside of Clemens, but not able to find it. And oh, going to be another instant at Ascari, and that is a wounded car there, and that is the car of Duncan Morais, and that's ended up in the gravel. It's been pushed out there, and what I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a safety car, but as a result of multiple incidents, and what I think there's been one more incident than what we've seen. I think that's the incident at Ascari, but as we look to Alex Meredith and Andy Chell battling here, they're allowed to battle up towards the start-finish line, but as soon as they cross that line onto lap 2, they have to stop battling, and it will be Meredith who gets ahead of Chell, and the race is now neutralised. Well, it's been an absolutely topsy-turvy start to this race. We thought they were going to get away with it on lap number 1, but it wasn't quite to be. And as everybody now starts to slow down in these rather challenging conditions in terms of visibility, well, we can tell you it's Andrew Pike who is your race leader, ahead of Kieran Smart, your prime leader, who's P2. Jaroslaw Cebula is P3, ahead of Andy Fox. Alex Meredith P5. Andy Chell, your AM leader, is P6. William Guthrie P7. Wayne Douglas P8 as he makes his way past our cameraman. Sam Smith P9, your second place prime driver, and then Dan Mulder is P10 ahead of Messeres P11 and Reese Watt. William Kurtler is P2 in the AM class, P18, and meanwhile P3 in the AM class, and Jonathan Collins P22. And we should point out that Ben Gregory has made his way all the way up to P12 despite his starting position being P24. I don't know how he's managed that, but I can tell you one thing, that is a brilliant drive for the 113 driver of Ultimate Motorsport, and the field now gradually makes its way around behind the safety car. And that gives us an opportunity to take a look back at some of the open lap incidents. Let's begin with the very Smatsgow incident off the start-finish line. And well, here's the replay as they made their way away. See, Berry comes across here and comes across into the path of Smatsgow, and that's what sends them on their way. Smatsgow is able to carry on, so therefore Jonathan Berry in the end coming off the worst of the two, and Smatsgow just losing some time and also some body work in the process. We then had an incident coming down in towards Regia. This was Andy Fox. Chell went straight on, and Fox says, I think he's going to go wide here. Yes, he does. So that's not the main incident of consideration. It's the Smith Fowler incident we're concerned about, and this is it as they came on down. You're going to see, look closely for the Iris Eastwards Elantra, it's tapped. Fowler goes down as well. I think that was an indication, and Smith is sent to the gravel, but he rejoins. But then everybody else comes into the scene. The incident ends up being an absolute nightmare. And well, can we get a better camera angle of what happened here in towards Regia? I think we can. This was Fowler, and this is the close-up camera. This will tell us it all. So contact there for the 32. That's Reese Watt, sends Fowler round. And then as everyone else chimes into the incident, they're all barreling in under the Constantina effect. And well, you see the 65 car there of what is, I believe, Isaac Doble getting caught up. So Isaac in the end has nowhere to go, and everyone ends up being stationary on that outside line before the field starts to clear. But about 10 to 15 drivers caught up in that, including also Craig Tillerson, also Dylan Hunter. We could also see there, I believe, and there was a further moment between two drivers, and that was there, I think, Josh Brown being turned. And well, can we get a replay of what happened then a little bit later? And what I believe we might be able to get a replay of an incident that happened a bit later on, and James Smatsgow actually came to the scene of this incident a little bit afterwards. Can we get his on board to see what happened here? And I think we can, and well, I'm not quite sure how Stuart Winus ended up being sent across the grass there, but he did. And there's Dylan Hunter coming through as everyone's trying to find their way through the carnage, and Smatsgow actually one of the drivers who got off better from all of that and managed to sneak his way around it all. Now, there was a further incident that we do want to try and unpick, and that was the incident at Ascari, if we can, as we do return to your live pictures for the moment. So everyone's still behind the safety car at the moment. They will be at least for this lap. But we are going to try and take a look back at what happened at Ascari, and I think it involved Eduardo Gonzaga, in fact. And here is the replay. And well, this is Eduardo Gonzaga, who indeed got turned into the wall when he tried to rejoin, and that's because he's got damaged suspension and no air on the car. And in the end, well, the car drifted onto the path there of the NXTGEN pink car, and I believe that was the NXTGEN pink car, unless I'm mistaken, of what was Gavin Gardner. So Gardner having a nightmare race, and then we did have an incident later on. And well, I don't think we're going to be able to get that replay of what happened at Ascari, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen. And therefore, we are going to have to roll with what we have here. We are seeing if we can get any footage from a replay camera that's available to us, but we haven't got anything so far. But we will be, from what I've had whistled in my ear with regards to our race director, we will be back up to race speed after this lap. The safety car will be in at the end of this lap, and we will be back up to race conditions. And our drivers have just been reminded of that and told that there's no passing until the start-finish line time in line. So therefore, we will be going racing once again. As we say hello there to Stallone in the YouTube chat, and also to Weber's Racing. Aztec Racing there, we also say hello to Ian at the YouTube channel there, as everybody getting themselves set. Also we say hello to Harry Shaw there. It's great to see somebody tuning in as always there, and quite a few drivers cheering on James Mansell-Gow, who absolutely in the end managed to avoid most of the carnage at the start and managed to get himself through all of it, and well, moved all the way out to P23. But as Andrew Pike follows the safety car on down the final stretch before Parabolica, well, he's come to the end of lap number 3, and then we'll be back up to speed. But you can see the safety car now starting to pull away, and Pike setting the pace. He's just letting the safety car pull away a little bit, but not backing the field up as much as we saw in race number 2 from Nick Clibbin. So Pike, therefore, not going to let the safety car have all the time in the world to get into the pit lane. And I think Pike's now going to get himself up to speed shortly, or is he? No, he's not at the moment. Managing the speed, starting to build up a little bit now. Safety car is in, and well, for Andrew Pike, I believe he's going to take it all the way to the timeline, and yes, he does. And we are back to green flag racing, ladies and gentlemen. Andrew Pike is go, go, go. We're on to lap number 4 as they power away up to speed here down the start-finish line straight. As they head in towards turn number 1, as you can see, Wayne Douglas and Alex Meredith already side by side with other drivers around them. Andy Chell also in the mix there, and Pike right now in the Honda, the one car that doesn't want to be without a slipstream, but he's without a tow, and therefore I think he's going to find himself being very quickly engorged by the drivers around him who have got a slipstream and the cars that get to their top speeds faster. But they make the way from the distant view up towards Regia, and as they do, it's 2 by 2, as we can see there, a dive to the inside being looked at for William Guthrie, and also what was perhaps more impressively Ben Gregory. Wayne Douglas being turned sideways, so is Guthrie, but they all make the way through. Andy Chell in all this right now, I think he's just holding on for dear life and hoping that nothing stops his race from going the way he wants it to. But Ben Gregory, after looking for the lunge into the chicane, loses out. Meanwhile, that's Joe Doble going sideways, coming through Lesmo 1, catching the car back together, but he's got Matthew Shepperton and William Kurtler absolutely tucked in behind as they make the way on through Lesmo 2. But as they do so, all these drivers right now just trying to get themselves back in the thick of it and back in the fighting as soon as possible. And well, we've got plenty of laps in this race, but I don't think they've all got the memo, and I think they're all trying to take the places whilst they can before the field starts to segregate out. But as Jonathan Collins looks up the inside of James Mansell here for P22. Well, Collins wants to chase after William Kurtler for second place in the AM class. You can see Kurtler there separated just up the road by Lee Horn from Collins. So as they come out of Ascari, it's nose to tail, and Jonathan Collins makes the move to Mansell and absolutely makes it look as smooth as possible. But I think Mansell there being a little bit compliant in amongst the mixture. But as they head in towards Parabolica Curve, we've got more fighting further back. And in fact, this is a three-way fight for P5 in the AM class, and it is Craig Tillerson for Renault Academy ahead of teammate Kevin Smith. Smith looks up the inside, and behind is Lewis Mason, who's got Sam Bradley up his inside. Bradley is a prime driver, not an AM, so therefore he is the fly in the ointment here as they come out of that corner and onwards towards lap number 5 they go. But Tillerson and Smith are fighting each other, but I think both of the Aztec, not the Aztec guys should say, but the Verano Academy drivers will be looking to stop treading on each other's toes for too long. As always, it's going to be tears, and there's tears up the road, as that is a major incident, I think, off in the distance. And I think Andy Chell's been caught up in something, as some drivers are slowing down, others are going all in, and well, goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe it. Everyone's come absolutely roaring into the scene in the instant, and well, if there were any yellow flags waved, nobody's adhered to them, because my goodness, my voice almost breaks out. I really can't believe it. That is just absolutely encapsulated from what was lap number 1 going into lap number 5, where it seems as though here a lack of visibility in the fog has absolutely unsettled all of our drivers. As you can see there, what is another Stuart Wine is trying to carry on, but the car's absolutely broken, and well, I think we're potentially going to see another safety car shortly, but that's an absolute disaster. And well, meanwhile, the front of the field carries on, and as they do, Andrew Pike right now, well, the Sim Racing Collective driver is absolutely running away with things with Jaroslaw Cebula and Alex Meredith and Wayne Douglas. But what on earth has happened back there? And well, I would expect the safety cars going out, and in fact we do have the safety car heading out the pit lane already, and well, we're going to find out very shortly what on earth has happened there with regards to the lead pack going into the barrier, coming into turn number 1, and where everyone else has come into the scene of the incident. But as the safety car is out there and Andrew Pike catches up to it, and we will stay with them all the way through in towards what will be the start-finish line, once the Sim Racing Collective driver makes its way on down, and we can see there now starting to weave from side to side. I think sending a message to the drivers behind, which is, look, there's no point fighting now because we're coming up to the safety car line. Well, we are now in the safety car conditions, and we immediately get a replay of what happened, and we take a look from Andy Chell's perspective. Well, it looks as though there Andy Chell was at the front of the group when it all kicked off, but as came into the scene of the incident, well, for Chell, we need to take a look back a little bit earlier as to what exactly happened with the drivers, and I think here's the replay which may explain it a little bit sooner. And this was coming down. So there's the start of it. The number 21 gets collected by Wayne Douglas. The 21 car there being what is Andy Fox. So Andy Fox can't have any fortune. And then Chell, who was going down at high speed, had no way of reacting at that point. The rest of the field comes into the scene of the incident. And well, with regards to that, what exactly happened with regards to the rest of the field, that is now the question we need to try and answer further down. I think it may have been a lack of visibility that just cost everyone the ability to see. This was on board with Gavin Gardner, who was down towards the bottom end of the top 30. He'll see a car on the right. He won't see what else has happened, but surely there would have been some yellow flags waving. And other drivers have just piled in as Gavin Gardner has tried to slow things down, albeit at relatively short notice. And well, there's going to be a lot of frustration, and I can imagine there's going to be a lot of drivers right now who are going to be called to the stewards room after this one, and I would imagine our race director and our head steward will be absolutely fuming with regards to what's happened. But meanwhile, here's an example from Ben Altria, and well, we could see the whole road was blocked in the end with carnage, and as the field came on down, well, all of our drivers in the end just not stopping, it would seem, what was the instant, whether they could see the yellow flags or not. But what it means, ladies and gentlemen, as we do return to your live pictures, and this is back to, excuse me, Andrew Pike, what we can see here is the fact that at the moment, out of a 51 car field, we have had a grand total of what I do believe, in fact, we have a red flag now, ladies and gentlemen. We have gone from safety car to red flag, and well, you may recall in what was our season finale of season 7 at Interlagos, we called out the red flag for what was an incident in the opening race, if my memory serves me correctly. And well, we will be on red flag, and our drivers have been told to follow the safety car all the way down to what is the final straight before Parabolica, and then they will be brought to a halt, and this is going to suspend the racing. And well, it will be at the race director's discretion when the field does come back together, given we have had 28 cars involved in that incident, and that is, well, as records go in the NXTCC, it's not a proud one, I can tell you that, but that is the biggest instant we've ever had, and well, an unexpected one at that, as our drivers make the way on down. And well, as the field is now being brought to a halt behind the safety car here, down the final stretch before Parabolica, it's going to be some time before we do get back to the racing. But the red flag, introduced at the end of Season 7 and trolled at Interlagos, and specifically for moments like this, where we have had a huge incident and where the safety car is insufficient in bringing the field back together, and this neutralises the race in the entirety. And well, our race director will only normally do this in the instant where we've had a major incident that could have been avoided, and well, an absolute nightmare instant, I would imagine, albeit I don't think I'm going to quite be privy to it, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be honest with you, I can tell you I don't want to be with our race director, given that much like how stern they can be in the BTCC, well, our race director will be giving all our drivers their orders, and it will be essentially to say to them that if they can't calm it down and respect the instance that are ongoing, then the racing may come to a halt. But that's what this is for, to tell everyone essentially where the racing should be and the quality of the racing that's expected. And well, as the field all settles down, if your eyes at Doble right now, well, P18, it's not going to be the place where we want to be, and also some work will need to be done to those barriers down there towards turn number 1, as aptly said by Stock 3090 in the YouTube chat. But what a major incident, and well, I can see many of you saying their regards to, they forgot it's not Wreckfest, says Mark Arrowsmith. Indeed, I think some other drivers might need just reminding there with regards to what happened and needing to calm things down as we are under red flag. And of course, the race timer is still ticking away, and in fact we can bring up that race timer for you on screen in the top and center, and there it is now. And as we can see, we still do have what is 16 minutes before the race will be forced to go to its checkered flag, and Andrew Pike, the Sim Racing Collective driver, at the front of the field as he sits there in the car. Well, I can tell you one thing, he'll be absolutely thinking about that restart right now. And well, I've just been informed in my ear we will be seeing the safety car restart in just under 30 seconds, and it will be Andrew Pike who will lead the field away as he sits there in the car and waiting to go once again. And well, goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, we won't be going back to the grid, and we won't be going back to the grid as questioned by Andy Rooney there, given the fact that unfortunately on iRacing it's very difficult to be able to get yourself in your grid slot with a lack of visibility or any indicator where the grid slot is. This is a manual red flag, we should point out, that we have introduced here at the NXTGEN racing community. So this is not being done through iRacing's automated systems, but this is something that's been done by Race Direction and manually, and therefore we will see the field be brought back up to speed. And we are going to be getting a single file restart, and I've just been told in my ear, ladies and gentlemen, it will be a single file restart behind the safety car. And I do believe, ladies and gentlemen, just to confirm there, the reason I went silent was to listen to our race director talking to the drivers. We are going to have a single file restart. It won't be at the start finish line. It will be at a point on the circuit as deemed by our race director, where our drivers are going to be allowed to go racing once again. So we are now back up to safety car. And well, a good point there from Andy Rooney. Could we rearrange order drives manually into order from before the incident? Well, given the fact that we have to respect that a number of our drivers racing in this series are based outside of the UK time zone. Indeed, if you're racing from the South African continent, we do have a couple of drivers racing from South Africa. It is coming up to, I believe, midnight currently for them, and having to respect their working lives. So this is the compromise that we've gone for here, in terms of we can't reset the order from before the incident, but what we can do is neutralise the race and have everyone involved in the incident rejoin using fast repairs and then go racing once again. But we would love to be able to do the full reset, Andy. I'm with you on that one in the YouTube chat, and indeed we've talked about it in the race direction admin team a number of times, but we're just, given the time constraints we do have, well, we can't quite make that happen. But what we can do is what we have here now, and of course we're always open to feedback at NXTGEN with regards to how we can do things better or even make it closer to the real thing. And well, as I try to get themselves all up to speed here behind the safety car, Andrew Pike will be the one who will be dictating the pace when we do go racing one more time today. And well, we are on lap number 7. And we are expected to get to the end of the race distance in terms of laps, given the amount of time remaining. We've got about 12 minutes left at the moment, and with a lap time when we're at full speed of just over 1 minute 50, we will be able to get all the laps in. But if we have another safety car, then we will be at risk of missing that opportunity to complete the full race distance, and it will be a shortened race. Albeit we will have completed over 75% of the race distance based on the current trajectory, so therefore full points are going to be rewarded and awarded to our drivers. And well, as they roll on through, well, we can see Andrew Pike here just behind the Aston Martin safety car, and well, that safety car right now just making its way on around the wonderful livery provided by Mark Sykes Designs, Gaz Williams at the helm, and well, Pike just following on through. But to give you a reminder, Andrew Pike is your overall leader ahead of Jaroslaw Cebula. Meanwhile, your Pro-Am leader is Sam Van Olst out of all of this, and well, the Pro-Am driver there with Reese Watt, Toby Prosser right behind him batting for the Pro-Am lead. Mark Sykes has found his way, Mark Sykes has found his way back into the AM lead in all of this, and I don't think he's going to quite believe it, with Eduardo Gonzaga and Jonathan Collins not too far behind. But now, without further ado, as they make the way down, we're not too far away from the restart. Well, I believe we might be getting the restart sooner rather than later, and I get the feeling we might be seeing the restart at the end of this lap, so we won't be pulling what is the safety car in until what will be the pit lane. And in fact, we will be going racing come the end of this lap, ladies and gentlemen. So it will be a standard safety car restart here. So we will see Andrew Pike look to back the field up behind the safety car, and then the safety car will gradually peeled away. As our our drivers make the way on down. They have also been told that they're to have their pit limiters on until they get to what is the start-finish line here, or to a predetermined point by our race director. Our race director will tell them, and indeed this will not be a restart that is fully controlled by Andrew Pike. It will be a combination of our lead driver and the race director, and well, that is to encourage our drivers to take it as safely as possible here, as the safety car has just made its way onto the pit entry lines. I look out my Conte booth window, and as they make the way on down right now to what is turn at number 9. More funny point there for Care Warrior. Does our driver Gaz Williams get the points for the most laps led? Not quite, but I can tell you one thing, it's the most laps he's ever had to do in an NXTCC race for about 5 seasons. And well, I think he'll be grateful for the hard work he's had the opportunity to do today. As we see the field make the way on around, and well, that top 5 there on your screen. And well, without further ado, it'll be Andrew Pike who'll be waiting to come off the limiter as we're getting the countdown. And well, very shortly, ladies and gentlemen, in what will be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we are racing once again as the limiters come off, and it is green flag conditions onto lap 8. 4 laps to go here at the Monza circuit, and we are back to racing as Pike roars away from Wayne Douglas and Jaroslaw Cebula. Side by side they go as they head up towards turn number 1, and as they do, Sam Van Olstede gets the better of what is Alex Meredith in the restart, but they head in towards the opening corner. You can see now Pike pulling what is Cebula along, and Wayne Douglas using the overspeed at Veloster to try and look for a move as they head through the opening corner and in towards turns 2 and 3. Meanwhile, behind Reece Watt battling side by side here with Alex Meredith and Mikey Doble trying to make it 3 wide. Also Toby Prosser getting in the mix, but Prosser backs out there as they come down 2 wide onto the brakes, and Meredith goes sideways but catches the car over the sausage curb there. There's an extra Orange Whiskey Runners driver. Meanwhile, further back we do have what is Mark Sykes making his way through. A couple of cars going sideways there through the Virginia chicane, but I think they've all been able to just about survive it. But Mark Sykes is still your AM leader, as there's a bit of a hustle and bustle there between Reece Watt and also Ben Gregory. And well, Watt missing a front left headlight, and there's Ben Gregory trying to find his way around as Adam Delman now switching back to the outside as they head down what will be the Serraglio straight, but rolling the way up towards what will be, rolling the way up towards Ascari. And as they come down towards the braking zone here, where you can see that right now Reece Watt going defensive as Ben Gregory tries to find a way on through. Gregory up the inside there, 2 wide they come onto the brakes. This is a P3 in the Prime class. Adam Delman watches behind. Meanwhile, straight on goes Eduardo Gonzaga, and as he takes his rally cross rejoin, oh my good lord, and Ben Altria just comes barreling back across the road and collects on his path in a car that's just absolutely flying from left to right. He's also collected there none other than what is one of the Aztec Racing cars. Well, there's been an incident there, and it seems as though, well, despite it being given the warning that some other drivers not quite being able to avoid the carnage unfolding, but I think that incident's going to clear itself. I don't think we're going back to a safety car on that one, unless I'm to hear otherwise, and we go on to lap number 9. So 3 to go here at Monza in what has been an absolutely terrifying race for instance, but it has shaken the field up time and time again. And well, as our drivers make the way on down the start finish straight at the moment, we have what is, in terms of your top 10, Andrew Pike who leads by a slightly improved advantage of what is 4.5 tenths. Sam Van Olstede P2, your prime leader, ahead of Wayne Douglas, and then Alex Meredith P4, Jaroslaw Cebula P5, and then we've got Mikey Doble, Toby Prosser, Reece Watt, Adam Delman, and then Mark Sykes completes your top 10 as your AM leader. At the back of this top 10 group, we've had a further incident further on down the order on the start finish straight, and we've got a car crawling, that's Andy Chell, but I think there's been a couple more drivers involved in that one. Well, we will try and find out what's happened there, but right now, with the racing that is ongoing, we're going to try and focus on the positives as they make the way down towards what will be Regia. And well, Russell Fowler in all of this, he's found himself in P8 of the Prime class, P23 overall, battling with Tom Davidson and Kieran Smart behind as they head in towards Lesbo 1. And as they come through the right-hander right now, behind them, Smart absolutely trying to stay as close as possible. You can see the damage on Kieran Smart's car. I think a lot of the cars here running major damage on them at this point and trying to stay out there just to get the car home and get the points, given the fact that if you come into the pits now, unless there's another safety car, you're going to be losing out massively. But we have had an incident which has taken, well, 2 incidents on that restarted lap that has taken out 10 cars in total from what I can see on my statistics at the moment, including the likes of Matthew Sheraton and Gabriel Papaconstantou being in the pit lane and just leaving it. We do have the opportunity to get a quick replay of what's happened, I do believe, and well, we can get the replay of what happened to Ben Altria. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, this is not the replay of earlier. We do have the replay here, and this was on the run for Ascari, and Ultria side by side there with one of the Doble Sim Racing cars, but in fact, oh my goodness, that's Ultria been set sideways, and the car that came across, well, that was none other than, I think, what was one of the other Elantras. Was that Ben Gregory caught up in that? But in the end, Ben Ultria just making his own way, and in the end being collected, so we had nowhere to go, and we did also have an incident down the start-finish line straight. And with regards to these incidents, I should say, well, it does seem as though at this point, it's now about who's going to survive this race and get to the finish. We're going to stay with the live racing action because of everything that's going on. There's plenty of good battling out there. Jaroslaw Cebula making his way up the inside there to take P3 off of Wayne Douglas as they roar the way in towards Lesmo 1. And we're coming on down here. Meanwhile, behind Alex Meredith being passed there by Mikey Doble, as Mikey Doble picks up another place here, having started this race in P22. He's up to P6. I don't think he's going to quite believe it, to be honest, in terms of how this race is unfolding. I don't think anybody can at this point, as they roar their way up Seraglio. We're coming up towards what will be the Ascari corner. Right now, the number 19 driver of Meredith will be tucking in behind and just simply trying to keep it all together as far as he can. And thank you for confirming there, Curve Warrior. I thought it was what was none other than the two full Tilby Motorsport drivers coming together out of Ascari, and well, that does add up to what you mentioned there. And well, as the drivers carry on, it's been a difficult day for full Tilby Motorsport if it's not William Kurtler at the front of the field. But meanwhile, up inside this top 10 right now, with Mikey Doble trying to make another place here, looking over the back of Toby Prosser, and this is on the penultimate lap, as you can see, 3 wide in the rear of the picture, but Prosser holding ground at the moment, as meanwhile in the 3 wide, that's Reese Watt in the middle, Isaac Doble on the inside, and looking around the outside is Duncan Morais. He's P3 in the Prime class, and well, it is the situation whereby Reese Watt, P4 in the Prime class, would like to come back at him if he can. I don't think he's going to be able to here as they roar the way down the start for this straight. And well, as they do, in all of this, Sam Van Olst, he's now looking into the lead of this race, and Van Olst here, well, he's absolutely come roaring on through this pack, the prime leader, and now he's looking to try and hold off what will be Andrew Pike. He slipstreams his way up the inside in towards turn number 1, but Pike will know that it's not about the speed that he's got in the Honda, it's about when he uses the slipstream, his rivals come back at him. And well, now Pike's going to look round the outside here, but Van Olst is going to try and make himself a multi-time overall winner as a prime driver. Goes the fence down the inside to outside through what is the Virginia chicane. Behind is Jaroslaw Cebula, and as they come in towards Lesmo 1, well, Jaroslaw Cebula tucked in behind right now and looking for every opportunity he can, but can't quite find it at this point, as Pike now having to go more defensive. Could Van Olst have just stolen away this overall victory? The prime driver, well, my gut feeling says he may have just done so, because Pike and Cebula are now more entwined with each other rather than what he's looking to chase down the prime leader here. But as they come down Seraglio and in towards Ascari, well, Wayne Douglas is only 6 tenths behind, so this is looking very tight, very close between them. But Van Olst will know that it's very tender in terms of you only need to make one small mistake, and when you do so, the Goldwyn Motorsport driver may just lose out as they roar their way out of Ascari. And now down towards turn number 9 they go, and as they do, the number 92 driver here, well, he's trying to hold on, quite very close behind him, and we'll have the overspeed here from the slipstream very gradually, but will it be enough? Van Olst will go defensive. Meanwhile, Pike's going to need to look around the outside. Can he go for the cutback instead? That Audi's going to be very strong on exit. I don't think Pike's going to have enough here unless Van Olst hits the rev limiter as he goes up the gears. Van Olst goes defensive on the inside, shortens the run to the checkered flag, and Sam Van Olst is going to do it in a race that's had it all. Sam Van Olst tops it off with the overall and prime victory ahead of Andrew Pike and Jaroslaw Cebula, who complete your top 3. Wayne Douglas P4 ahead of Mikey Doble, Alex Meredith P6 ahead of Toby Prosser, who's your runner-up in the prime class. Adam Delmont P8. Mark Sykes makes it 2 out of 3 and wins with P9 overall. Following up in his winning race on one day, Isaac Doble P10, and then it will be Duncan Rise who finishes P11 ahead of Lee Horn. And well, then it will be Reese Watt, Alan McCann and Jonathan Collins, who is runner-up in the AM class for Next Gen Orange Whiskey Runners. It's a 1-2 for the team in the AM class. Eduardo Gonzaga in the end finds his way all the way back to P3 in the AM class despite it all. Oh, goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, we couldn't have made this up in terms of narrative if you tried. There's been a number of drivers who've made their way up to the front, back down to the back and back to the front once again. And well, we've got a couple of drivers still to finish this race, including what is Sam Smith, who was involved in that altercation after the final restart, and Sammy Ariba's only 4 seconds behind. He'll finish P36 with the RS Esports driver Sam Smith, and then we'll see Ariba P37 for Quartermass Motorsport ahead of Gabriel Yilmaz in their fight for P8 in the AM class. Michael Lees finishes P39. And then we've got a sizable gap of 21 seconds to the wounded Ben Gregory, who will finish P40, albeit a Williams. Matthew Sheraton is going to look round the outside here in a drag race between the two Elantra drivers, and Sheraton is going to get a nose ahead. They're both flashing their lights, both thinking they've got it done, and in the end, it's Sheraton who comes home P40 for 14th in the Prime class, and Ben Gregory takes the final Prime points, P15 class, and well, Andy Fox just behind him, P41, the last of our lead, in fact, P42, I should say, the last of our lead lap finishers. But what a crazy race, and definitely a race whereby I think a number of drivers, the majority of the field, is going to be called into the race director's office after this one. And I can only imagine how much work the stewarding team have got cut out for them this coming weekend in the build-up for Christmas. Well, we thought it'd be an early present in terms of the points that some drivers would take away today, but it looks like our stewards have got an early present, which is a lot of incidents to dissect after the racing here at Monza, particularly in race number 3. But as they come down to the pit lane, talking about the positives, Sam Van Ol's taking what was an absolutely hard-fought victory overall in the Prime class, ahead of Andrew Pike and Jaroslaw Cebula, and Cebula returning to that podium after a brief spell away from it. And in the AM class, Mark Sykes returning to what is and victory after that winning race 1, but a dismal race number 2. More drivers gradually making their way into the pit lane. Craig Tillotson there, I think, taking to the grass for a brief moment before he finally comes down pit lane. And as he does so, P5 in the AM class there, after that P7 in race 2 and missing race 1, so he won't be too upset about that one, knowing plenty of points have come his way. And well, with the majority of the field almost into the pits, Marcel Fritsch, who you would imagine the Verano Academy driver, bit of a frustrating day for him today after a brilliant qualifying session, but nothing has really materialised out of it across the 3 races, so therefore he'll be hoping for more when we come back after the mid-season break. But as they come on down, well, what a challenging day, no doubt about it, and definitely I think a number of drivers will be given, I wouldn't be surprised to us, ladies and gentlemen, given the harsher stewarding system we have this season and the greater potential for what is strikes against drivers' names and also penalty points, I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see quite a significant number of drivers potentially start from the pit lane in race 1 in 2 weeks' time, or in 3 weeks' time, I should say, alternatively be given race bans. But again, we'll wait and see what happens out of that, but definitely a challenging day with regards to the racing here at Monza after a great race 1, a race number 2 when it started to unfurl, and race number 3 where it just wasn't to be for many. But still, with that, as our drivers come down the pit lane, let's take a look at those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries, and here they are. So after an absolutely what has been troubling and also terrific for some, race number 3 in round 4 of season 8 of the NXTCC, brought to you on iRacing and powered by Doble Motorcycles, Sam Van Ol's taking victory for Goldwyn Motorsport overall and in the Prime class by a 10th at the line ahead of the Sim Racing Collective's Andrew Pike, who did well today despite the power deficiency of the Honda to find a way to finish on the podium in the final race and get a good set of results. Jaroslaw Cebula rounded off the overall podium there for Next Gen Pink, ahead of Wayne Douglas, with Mikey Doble completing a run to P5 there for Doble Sim Racing after that P22 start. Alex Meredith, P6 for Next Gen Orange Whiskey Runners on his return to the grid after missing the races at Portugal, ahead of Toby Prosser, second place in the Prime class for Aztec Racing. Then Adam Delmont, P8 for SRO and Next Gen Gold, ahead of your AM winner, Mark Sykes, P9 for Next Gen Orange Whiskey Runners. He'll be pleased with the 2 out of 3 victories today. And then Isaac Doble completed your overall top 10 there for Doble Sim Racing. P11, best the rest, was Duncan Rise for Goldwyn Motorsport, the South African driver there, getting 3rd place in the Prime class as well, and he'll be pleased with that podium ahead of Lee Horn, with the Next Gen Orange Whiskey Runners driver not quite having the race to match races 1 and 2 today, but still kept Reeswap behind him. The JWM Motorsport driver also having to keep Alan McCain behind in their fight for the top 5 positions in the Prime class, and the iRacing Esports driver being followed up by Jonathan Collins, your run-up in the AM class, and your final driver in the top 15, getting his first overall points of the season. And it's a 1-2 in the AM class for Next Gen Orange Whiskey Runners. Joe Doble was just behind at the close by a 10th, P16, ahead of Sam Bradley, with a top 20 being completed by Stuart Winess, Eduardo Gonzaga and Dylan Hunter. And, well, Eduardo Gonzaga making it another podium in the AM class, and Dylan Hunter taking his first top 4, or indeed first P4 of the AM class of this season, and just missing out on the podium there by what was a 2nd at the close. But what's to come for the DH Racing driver in future rounds, we'll have to wait and see. William Guthrie, P21, ahead of Craig Tillotson, who completed a run to P5 in the AM class for Verano Academy. And then Russell Fowler, Jamie Dory and Tom Davidson completed your top 25. Daniel Downing, P26 had a Marcel Fritsch with Dan Mould, and then what was none other than Kieran Smart and Lewis Delmont completing your top 30. Jam Smashers Gal P31 ahead of the next gen pink pair of Benjamin McCluskey and Gavin Gardner, with Lewis Mason for Aztec Racing coming up P34 ahead of Nick Clibbins. And then we saw the top 40 completed by Sam Smith, Sammy Ariba, Gabriel Yilmaz, Michael Lees and Matthew Sheraton. With Ben Gregory, P41, in what has been a heartbreaking race to conclude the day for Full Tilt Motorsport, with Gregory and Altria coming together in that instant at Ascari and upsetting any chances of any major points for the teammates. But still, behind him, Andy Fox, P42, in what was, he coined me today, a round whereby it was going to be intense racing and hoping to avoid too many wrecks, but Andy Fox find himself right in the midst of a good number of the wrecks. And then Gilberto shot P43, the first of our drivers to finish a lap down. It was also a lap down for Andy Chell, Kevin Smith, Gabriel Papaconstanzo and William Kurtler. 2 laps down to Matt Emmons, and then completing our 51 running order, Josh Brown 2 laps down, Ben Altria 3 laps down, and Jonathan Berry, our sole retiree from this race after lap number 1. So it means 51 starters, 50 finishers, of which, ladies and gentlemen, we saw 42 finish on the lead lap in a highly disrupted race, no doubt about it. But still, that's the way the race has played out today, and well, perhaps a bit of a dark patch on what's been a fantastic season of the NXTCC so far. But still, we've got plenty more racing to come after the Christmas and New Year's break, and therefore it's definitely a case where today, I think many of our drivers will learn from today and go into the final 6 rounds of the season knowing that we can't have a repeat of that. But I'm sure they will get the words from our race director and the stewarding team over the coming days. But in terms of getting words from drivers, of course, our racing may have concluded today, but what hasn't concluded is this broadcast. In approximately 10 to 15 minutes' time, we will be back for our post-round interviews with our volunteer drivers. If you want to hear the thoughts from them, do stick around, because it's great to always hear from our drivers who put their time aside in order to tell us about their racing experiences, particularly here today at Monza. So we'll see you for those interviews shortly, ladies and gentlemen. And well, until then, do let us know in your respective chats what have been your favourite moments of the racing today here in the NXTCC. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time for our post-round interviews. And so far, 2 of our drivers have offered up their time after today's 3 races to have a chat to us with regards to how things have gone at Monza. And of course, we'll be asking them questions with regards to what they've got planned for Christmas and what lies in wait and what we can expect in the second half of the season in the new year. You're first going to hear from our AM driver and one of our stars of today in the AM class, it must be said, Andy Chell for Quartermass Motorsport. And then we're going to be hearing from our Pro Class driver who's returned to the grid after a brief breakaway, missing Portugal, Alex Meredith in the number 19 for NXTGEN Orange and Whiskey Runners Racing, who saw his results gradually climb up through the ranks to what was a solid P5 in class finish, a P6 overall in the final race of the day. But without further ado, joining me in the interim is none other than the man who we heard from in the build-up to race number 3, Andy Chell. Good evening to you, Andy, once again. And we're putting aside the drama of race number 3 for a brief moment. What a pair of races beforehand.
Oh, yeah. Tonight's been a really good night for me, if we discount that last race. But, I mean, even that's come out with an okay amount of points, so, not going to complain too much. But, yeah, first race, honestly, didn't think I was as high up as I was. And then when we have all 3 of us in the chat, as you know, one of us has usually got the stream on. Usually it's John, to be honest with you. And he was like, Andy, you're P3. And I was like, oh, man, I didn't even expect that, so that was good. Then second race was, I'm not a little bit of a disappointment to lose that P1 with 2 laps to go, but it is what it is. That's racing. And you know what? P2 is better than no points whatsoever, so I'm happy with that. Obviously, we were looking really good for the team on that one, and there was a little bit of a misunderstanding. We've got to have a chat about it. We haven't had a debrief on it yet, but a little bit of a misunderstanding on brake points with my car being a little heavier. So it's an unfortunate one there for John. It is a bit of a disappointment there for him. And I get it. Him being disappointed there. We've missed out on what could have been a really nice 1-2 for the team, but I won't lie, coming out when we were on the restart, and I don't know what happened to Mark, but when he was unfortunately stranded on the side of the road, part of me felt sorry for him, but part of me was like, I'm P1, this is amazing. So yeah, I mean, it's been a interesting first 2 races, to be fair. Like I say, and it's something that I'm finally glad's happened, because I would say if I haven't had bad luck so far this season, I've had no luck whatsoever, really, to be honest. I think I lucked out once in round 2 with a P2 in the first race, and then that went all downhill. So yeah, I think it's finally coming good, but it was a good little night tonight. I'm genuinely quite happy.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, I would say you've been one of the shining stars of the racing today at Monza. I mean, there's been some great racing in amongst a lot of the drama, and you stood out. And with regards to Monza as a whole, I mean, in qualifying, a P7 in class, P41 overall, I get the feeling qualifying was less about how well you knew the circuit and more about could you find the toe. And even though you've got multiple teammates out on circuit, even getting into a group of, say, 3 or 4 cars, that's a challenge in of itself.
It is, yeah. We tried to do it. We did try and do it, but it just, everybody coming out of the pits at the same time, because everybody wants to get behind somebody. We lost each other. I didn't really get a toe for my last lap, which is what I really wanted, because I wanted to get some good times in burning the fuel off, go in, swap tyres, come out, get a nice quick lap in with a toe. It didn't work out that way for me, and you can see it on your Delta when you're going down the main straight, especially without the chicane. You can just see that Delta going redder and redder and redder, and it's hard to make it back because most of this track is full throttle anyway. So it was a very very difficult qualifying. I think it's something that we as a team are getting our heads round, because again, it's different to how we qualify in the GT3s, for example. Let's say similar sort of format, but it is different. Completely different cars. They rely more on the mechanical side to the aero side, so it's getting used to that. I think Benji said it last season, where he was trying to go out not in with everyone else so he can get a nice clean lap in. That's sort of what we've been doing, but trying to work as a group so we can give each other a bit of a tow or help each other out. But it's just getting used to doing it. Like we say, we're a new team into the TCRs, so there is a lot of learning for us. And you know, we're relatively less experienced drivers, I'll say. I mean, we can hold our own, and we will hold our own, but you know, we haven't been doing this for 8 seasons. This is our first season, so we're still finding out who we can have them door-to-door fights with, and who perhaps, you know, latency, connections, however, who we, you know, maybe can't go as close with. So we're working that out. But like I say, once we've got a feet under the table, I think it'll start coming good for us, which it is starting to, I think. So yeah.
Oh, most definitely. I would agree with you on that. The results seem to be gradually making their way on an upward trend, whether we're thinking just about yourself or the wider Quartermass Motorsport team. And like you say, unfortunate for yourself and Jonathan Berry to miss out on that potential 1-2 today. But we did also see the two of you running together, particularly in race number 1 for that P3, P4, as you're both on screen currently. So it was a solid drive from the team. And coming to that point with regards to working together as a team, I mean, you've all gone for the Audi RS3 this season, and it's a car which has been very strong here today, but it is starting to seemingly find a way to be quite strong at every venue we go to. How have you guys felt about running the Audi? I mean, the fact that you were drawn to it, and now you've had 4 rounds of it.
We're getting more and more used to it. It's definitely got its own driving style that you need for it. I'd liken it to, for reference to me and you, I'd say it's similar to driving the Mustang, the GT3, where you've got to let that front end go and let it rebite before you can put the power back in. So for me, that's how I drive it anyway, and that's kind of how John and Sammy, when we're kind of sharing each other's tips on the track, that's kind of how we talk, or at least how I talk, because that's my frame of reference. But to be honest, in regards to picking it, because the team didn't really run touring cars as a whole before this season, we got the Audi made up. We hadn't got any of the others. So to help save a bit of money with the team, we went, right, well, we've got this car made up, we'll run it. And it just seems to have fell quite nicely for us, to be honest, where the car's coming into its own. I know some people have ran it before, and previous balances, it hasn't been the best. The Civic, for example, has been the best, but it's starting to come into its own now. And yeah, it's once you get used to how you drive the car, it's a fun, enjoyable little car to drive. So I really can't fault it at all, to be honest.
Oh, that's absolutely fair, and it's great to hear the insight from your perspective and the wider team perspective on the choice of the Audi. And I think you guys are definitely gelling to the car, and we're seeing those results move forward. But coming back to yourself, I mean, a P3 in race number 1, and there's actually quite an interesting symmetry in your results there, I must say, Andy. P33, P3, race 1. P22, P2, race 2, and then you decided not to follow it with P11, P1 in race 3, but P44, P10. You almost got it spot on, just went the wrong direction with the maths.
Almost, yeah.
But coming to the point that battling for podiums here, a lot of slipstream in effect, but also you've got some close rivals, and it seems as though this AM class is actually much more wide open than the points would show. Is that how you feel the AM class is?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. 100%. I think week on week, you'll see different drivers be stronger depending on which tracks suit them better. And as a whole, it's a good, fun race with all the AMs. I don't think there's been, we've had little incidents and things where obviously people are making mistakes. You make mistakes, we're all human. But the racing as a general is good fun. I mean, I don't think I ever come away from a Tuesday night and think, that was hard work. I come away and think, do you know what? I've had brilliant fun, and that's what the main allure for this was for me. But yeah, the rating is very close. I don't think there's any AM really that I would sit here, and I know the points will probably look a little different, but I don't think there's any AM here that you could say would you'd expect to be P1 all the time. I think it does change, and I think that's the fun nature of AM drivers, is you will and can have these really nice close battles that just make it fun. To be honest, it's fun not knowing who's going to be on top, but knowing there's a chance. Potentially it could be me, potentially it could be John, it could be Sammy, it might be Gabriel Papaconstantino, it might be Gabriel Yilmaz, it might be Lewis Mason, it could be any of the AMs. You know, we've had Mark Sykes come down from Pro-Am, we've had like Sammy come down for Pro-Am, so again, there's a bit more experience there that's going to spice it up a little, I think, but it's fun. And yeah, I think I don't think I wouldn't say, you know, driving it, I wouldn't want to try and call it. So I don't know about the viewers, but yeah, it's definitely, I do think it's got that fun element to it, which, you know, AM needs.
Oh, definitely. There's that fun out there, and I think all our viewers would agree. When we look at the AM class, there's always fighting going on. If it's not for the lead, it's definitely for the podium, or at least for the top 5, and will long may that continue. And speaking of the continuation, of course, you've had some great results today. You're technically going into the Christmas break, minus race 3, on quite a bit of a high. The most points you've gained in a single round this season so far, provisionally, from what I've been able to ascertain from the maths. 2 weeks now off in terms of Christmas Day next week, and then the week after we've got New Year's. I first have to ask, you got anything special planned over the Christmas holidays?
Yeah, so Quatamassive, well, as the team principal for Quatamassive, I've said the entire team is going into a shutdown for the 2 weeks between, well, it's the end of this week, and then just after New Year's, so everybody gets a holiday. Obviously, if there's fun little races going on, that's different. But from an official standpoint, we're going into a bit of an enforced shutdown, just so everybody gets a little bit of a break and a little bit of family time, bit of rest and recuperation. For me, that's going to be spending it with the wife and the in-laws and my family, and just taking that little time off, to be honest, and then coming back nice and refreshed and looking forward to more fun racing, to be fair, mate.
Oh, sounds like a good plan. And speaking about coming back to the race and being refreshed, when we do return, it'll be round 5 and our first sprint feature combination special round at the Nürburgring Gesamtstrecke. How are you feeling for the proverbial green hell?
Oh, it's not my favourite track, I'm not going to lie to you. Hopefully it'll go better than it did with GT3s. Hopefully. But, you know, practice will be put in for it, and we'll see how it goes. Obviously, the cars are very different to the GT3s, so we'll see how it plays along. But yeah, it's not my favourite track. But then that being said, because of how long it is and because of the nature of that track, you don't know what's going to happen. And you know, I could be sat here in two weeks' time going, "Oh, Paul, I absolutely love this track now." I honestly don't know, but I'll have to take that one, to be honest with you, corner by corner, which I think is the best approach to it. So we'll see how it goes, but yeah, not my favourite, let's say.
Well, that's absolutely fair. It's a bit of a Marmite circuit for many, and, well, you're definitely encapsulating that in your description, but still, like you say, just take it one corner at a time, and you never know what can happen. Well, just before we do let you go, Andy, we just wanted to ask one final question, which is, do you want to give a thank you or a shout-out to anyone live on the broadcast this evening?
Yeah, I'll take it. Sorry, excuse me. I'll take a couple of thank-outs. So, obviously, thank-outs to the Quatamass team as a general, especially to Sammy and John. They, together as a trio, we put a lot of effort into this. So they deserve as much plaudits as I get. So definitely want to get them mentioned. The wider team as a whole, obviously there's a few of them that jump in the chat for us on the live stream. So thanks to them to coming and supporting it, because making this live stream and, you know, having you around makes it at the end of the day, let's be honest. And then to my friends and family that have also jumped in, I've seen like one of my best friends, Mike, in the chat. A few others. Sorry if I haven't seen you guys in the chat and you have been there, but shout out to you guys. And then obviously to our sponsors for helping keep us going racing.
Well, Andy, it's been an absolute pleasure having you join me in the interview room. Congratulations once again on some of your finest performances of the season so far, and long may the upward trend continue. You never know, we could be sat here in a couple of weeks' time in 2025 celebrating your first AM win. I'm sure it's going to come sometime soon. But until then, I wish you and all the team at Quartermass Motorsport the very best. Have a fantastic Christmas, a happy new year to you all, and we will see you at the Nürburgring in 2025.
Thank you very much, matey, to you and all the viewers as well. Thank you.
So hearing there from Andy Chell from Quartermass Motorsport, always a pleasure to talk to, no doubt about it. He's always an absolute gentleman in the interview room, and he's a gentleman on circuit, and we saw plenty of that today from the team principal there in the AM class. The number 5 roaring high. Whilst in qualifying it was more about the toe and finding a way to settle into the running order and put together a lap, but openly admitting it wasn't quite the lap he wanted. When it came down to the racing, that's where the good was done. In race number 1, a podium, P3, P33 overall, albeit a little bit of a trip up between himself and what was some of his teammates earlier on, particularly driver Berry, but they managed to settle that, and then plenty of battling, which we are seeing on our pictures here in the background in the replay camera from race number 1. And in race number 2, progress to be made, albeit that's where there was a bit of a moment between himself and Jonathan, and then subsequently that battle between Andy and Eduardo Gonzaga that saw Eduardo Gonzaga get the upper hand and take the AM victory and stop Andy from taking his first ever win. So it does mean he's taken 2 P2s this season and 1 P3, but he's yet to take to the top step of the podium. And as we mentioned, mathematically, race number 3, if we based it on the trend of his finishing positions from races 1 and 2, race 3 it should have been P11 overall and a race win, but it was far from it, being involved and embroiled in those incidents which plagued race number 3. But through it all, also talking about the experiences of the team at Quartermass Motorsport and how they're gradually adapting and gelling to the NXTCC compared to their previous experience of the GT3 league here at NXTGEN, and how to get used to the change of car as well, going from what was front engine rear wheel drive machinery to front engine front wheel drive machinery. But it all seems to be coming together for Andy and the team at Quartermass, and I reckon after the Christmas break, when they've had that rest and recuperation time and that downtime they're allotting themselves, well, I get the feeling they could be a force to be reckoned with in the AM class. But now, ladies and gentlemen, coming to our second and thereby final interview of the day, as we've only got one other interview available, unfortunately. We're going to be coming to Alex Meredith very shortly and hearing his thoughts on what has been a strong day of performances for Alex Meredith as he gets ready to join me in the interview room, and we'll get to hear his full perspective on all of the racing. But he does join me now. Good evening to you, Alex, and good to speak. It's been a little while since we've had the pleasure of you on the grid and in the interview room, but it's great to have you back. And, well, Monza, races 1 and 2, making your way gradually up through the order and culminating in a P6 in race 3. I mean, you must be happy with how you performed on your return.
Yeah, good evening, Paul. Nice to see you. I've got to say it's a bit of a mixed night for me. Race 1 and qualifying, for that matter, I was extremely frustrated with myself. You can ask anybody in the Whiskey Runners chat about that. And then race 2, I was just trying to avoid carnage, trying to get some points because I really haven't got any the past couple of weeks. It's been pretty shocking from me on my driving standards. Just haven't been good enough. And then race 3, yeah, just trying to be safe, let a couple of people go because I just wanted to get it home in some nice points positions.
So breaking that down, it's a bit unfortunate to hear that's how things have gone, but still, it's always good to hear the different perspectives of drivers, yourself included, with regards to how the season's gone. I get the feeling qualifying perhaps wasn't the qualifying session you wanted. P23 overall, P14 in class, but as we just spoke to Andy, qualifying here at Monza is just as much about finding the right place in the whole pack to deliver a lap as it is whether you're good at Monza or not.
Yeah, I don't know, I was struggling through practice for pace generally, and then I got into qualifying maybe thinking that, no, it's just the slipstream and it was going to be fine. And then I had a great slipstream behind Lee for the last couple of laps I did, but I just never got one together. There was always one mistake, either into the first chicane or Ascari or into Parabolica. It was just a bit of a mess, but yeah, P23, it's not awful. It's halfway down the grid. It's not great for pro, but you know what? I'll take it.
Well, that's fair, and I think that's a sensible and level-headed approach to take in terms of you're in the top half of the grid and the only way is up. And we saw that across all of the races, and starting with race number 1, of which we're looking back at some of the footage now, a P20 finish overall, a P15 in class, so no points gained, well, in fact, points gained in the pro class for the overall championship. So a couple of points there. I mean, it's a good start, but obviously not what you want, but it gives you a point to move forward in race 2.
Yeah, exactly that. Race 1, I was just getting extremely stuck behind Sam Van Alst. He did a fantastic defense the whole race. I gained 3 positions on lap 1, made a very good start. And then I was trying to look to get past the 2 Goldwing Motorsport cars, but they were just sort of helping each other along really nicely. And unfortunately, I just couldn't get through. I tried to move into a Ascari that was quite a dive bomb. It didn't work. I let him back through because it was pretty aggressive. Other than that, yeah, that was pretty much all that happened in my race, to be honest.
I see, and one thing we did notice and was mentioned in amongst the drivers' chat after race 1, it does seem as though the Hyundai Elantra is struggling here currently in Monza. In previous seasons, we've seen it work quite well, but you were the highest Elantra of everybody come the end of race 1 with that P20 finish. Is it something you felt's happened as well? Because the Elantra's normally been a car that goes well anywhere it goes to, but here it just hasn't seemed to click.
Yeah, maybe that's part of the reason I've struggled this season. It's just there's something about it that some seasons it's kind of an all-rounder, and then some seasons it's kind of a no-rounder where you go to a round accepting that you're already on the back foot. And here I thought it wasn't going to be like that, and I was just slow. But then I learned that I was the top Elantra and thought maybe it's just the car. So yeah, that'll be a thought for seasons to come to see whether I want to continue being a staple of the Elantra.
Well, whilst that might be a fault for future seasons, talking about future races over the course of today, race number 1 result, that P20 finish, that's what you started for race 2. More progress made in race 2, albeit we did have the safety car which interrupted the flow of the racing. I mean, just take us through from your perspective, race 2, because 6 places made, guaranteed yourself practically to be in that reverse grid unless we had a perfect combination of 6 and 7 come out the bowl. A positive race?
Yeah, race 2 was a lot better for me. I think it's to do with the heat. The heat in race 1, along with the dirty air, the Elantra burns through its tyres very quickly. That's why I was better in race 3 as well, just because of the heat. But yeah, race 2, a bit of progress. I just wanted to survive, really, get more points on the board, get into a good, safe reverse grid position. And just a little thing on under the safety car, I almost did the same thing that Mark did. So it was a really easy mistake to make because we kind of had to check up just out of Ascari. I almost lost it at the same point, so really unfortunate for him. He was in a great position. But anyway, yeah, for me, just an average race, just getting through it, getting some points, and getting a good reverse grid position.
Well, quite a good approach there, and indeed making that forward progress. And then we do, of course, have to come on to race number 3, perhaps the elephant in the room, as the proverb goes. Race number 3 saw a large number of incidents throughout the race, including a red flag period. Without breaking it down to every single part, but just from your perspective, I think there were some parts where perhaps you moved forward a lot of places, other parts where you moved backwards, and in the end of it, you find yourself finishing P6 overall, P5 in class. Just take us through in summary from your perspective what that race was like.
It was pretty crazy behind me. For me, it was okay, but behind me, it just looked like carnage. I mean, after the safety car, I was going down the straight, and the 2 cars behind me made contact, and then I just saw smoke in the background. I said to the Whiskey Runners guys, "There's a massive crash on the straight." And they were like, "Oh, where on the straight?" And I said, "Anywhere on the straight. It's just on the straight," because it was just everywhere. I'm really lucky to have avoided it. Red flag period, cooled my tyres down, which was frustrating because I kind of wanted them warm, but it was the same for everybody. And then on the restart, I couldn't hear the radio from the race director telling us when to turn off the pit limiter for the restart. So I dropped a couple of positions to get there, and then I was just wanting to bring home some better points. I had a nice battle with Toby Prosser and Mikey Doble as well. that was pretty fun. But yeah, pretty fun race for me. Seemed like absolute carnage behind me.
Well, definitely, like you say, a solid race for yourself and bringing home those important points to wrap up what has been the first half of the season before we head into our mid-season break. It's been a challenging season, as you described earlier, but still 6 more rounds to come after what is 2 weeks off. But before we come on to thinking about the second half of the season, talking a little bit about Christmas, I mean, is it going to be a bit of time in the rig at Christmas, or are you going to be putting your feet up and enjoying Christmas with the family?
I think it'll be a mix of both. I'm always on the sim. I love the sim. It's the escape. But yeah, definitely spend some time with family. You know, enjoy some food, do kind of what I want, have a break from school, things like that. But yeah, I'll be doing a bit of practice for Nürburgring as well, which is the next one coming up, which I am looking forward to that. I think it'll be a fun race, a strategic race. Obviously, it's double points, I think, so it's going to be important to get a good start, stay out of trouble, and around the Nürburgring, that's no easy feat.
Oh, most definitely. They do say, much like Le Mans, it's all about surviving the circuit to see that checker flag rather than being the one to be able to go around it the fastest. But still, that's in a few weeks' time, and we look forward to seeing how you get on there when we do return from our break. But with that, Alex, just before we do let you go, is there anywhere you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast this evening?
Yeah, anybody watching the stream, it's appreciated. Goes into the YouTube algorithm and all that. Thanks for all the admins for dealing with the incident reports and things like that. Or the organisation, because I've seen how much work it takes. Everybody racing, apart from a couple of massive incidents, it's been pretty clean on for me. Other than that, and you as well, Paul, of course, and you for your awesome commentary always. And other than that, I think that's done.
Well, Alex, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you join me in the interview room, and it's great to see you back on the grid after missing Portugal. But with that, congratulations on your performances today, and long may the upward trend continue when we do head to the Nürburgring in what will be 3 weeks' time. But until then, wishing you and what is your family, I think John, and also, goodness me, I can't remember your mum's name for the life of me, but I see her in the chat every couple of weeks cheering you on. But I wish your mum and dad also an absolute Merry Christmas. Sorry, go on.
It's Catherine.
Catherine, there we go. I was going to say Lynn for some reason, but wishing them all an absolutely Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll see you back on the grid in a few weeks' time in 2025.
Cheers, Paul, you too.
So hearing there from Alex Meredith as I make a complete ham sandwich with regards to his family, who normally tune in week out. And I do apologise, Catherine, in the fact that I forgot your name, but not John's. But there we go. But the next-gen Orange Risky Runners driver, having what has been a challenging season so far, but gradually making forward progress over the course of what is today. And we saw that over the course of qualifying and the first 2 races in particular. Race number 3 as well, with the top 22 reverse grid, enabling Alex to move forward even more so. And the instant behind as well, which saw the entire field shattered and then have to be reassembled from the pieces. Well, for Alex Meredith, it was the prime opportunity to take some major points home in the bag. After picking up a sole point in race number 1 and then a few more in race number 2 to land a P5 in the Pro Class in race number 3. Well, some fortune has eventually come through for him, and we'll be interested to see how well he gets on at the Nürburgring when we do return for round number 5. So he's feeling confident, and by the sounds of it, it's a circuit that does gel with him, but also that inkling there with regards to Hyundai Elantra, a car that he has been stapled to ever since he's been on the grid in the NXTCC. Could there be a change of foot come at the end of the season? Well, that's a longer term thought. But perhaps the Elantra just not working out anymore, and perhaps BOP updates have finally meant the Elantra, which was once the king and the car that many gravitated to, has finally fallen back into the realm of the other 3. And while the car variety we've seen on the grid so far this season could indicate that truly to be. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our interviews for today. Only 2 interviews on our drivers, not all drivers available. And I think many of our drivers wanting to pack up the cars and go home, given the instance we saw in race number 3. And I think a lot of them need to take a look at what exactly happened over the course of the races. But a big thank you to our 2 interviews for this evening. We had Andy Cho in the number 5 of the AM class for Quartermass Motorsport. And we just heard from the number 19 driver, Alex Meredith, for NXTGEN Orange Whiskey Runners Racing in the Pro class. Thank you to them and congratulations to them both on their brilliant performances today. And well, we look forward to plenty more interviews with our drivers when we do come back from the mid-season break and roll our way into the final 6 rounds of the season. But of course, before we do get to those final 6 rounds of the season, there's got to be some updates to the championship standings. And provisionally, this is how the championship standings look after 4 rounds as we do head into aforementioned break. We start off with the overall Drivers' Championship standings, and as we can see here, after 4 rounds, Mikey Doble leads by a growing margin. Thanks to his consistency today, a growing margin that has now extended ahead of Jaroslaw Cebula of 56 points. Could Mikey Doble be starting to build up the momentum for what would be a 4th NXTCC crown and extend his record-breaking run from 3 titles to 4? Jaroslaw Cebula would like to say the opposite, but to do so now, he'll need to be aware of the fact that Adam Delman hasn't made too much ground on him today, but hasn't lost any ground either and sits in a resilient P3, ahead of Benjamin McCluskey, who has moved to P4, ahead of Andrew Pike. Jamie Dory sits in P6 for a points injection from today and last round, moving him up into the threshold of battling for the top 5, but he's only got 2 points over Nick Clibbins, whose promotion to the pro class has not dissuaded him from pushing hard. Conversely, bad fortune and bad luck struck Daniel Downing multiple times today, and coming away with his worst set of results of the season, he falls to P8, 1 point ahead of Lee Horn, with Dan Mole completing your top 10 and continue to rise up through the ranks. Cameron Garner sits P11 best the rest, ahead of Wayne Douglas, with Isaac Doble, Sam Van Olst and William Guthrie completing your overall top 15. Coming from the top 15 of the overall standings to the Pro-Am class, here we can see that with the points adjusted for the Pro-Am finishing positions, it's Reece Watt who leads the way by the best part there of 57 points over Toby Prosser. Watt right now seems to be the man who's gradually taken control in the power vacuum that's formed from the absence of Daniel Downing and Nick Clemens being promoted to Pro. But is this temporary? Well, we'll have to see, because this is only 1 round of what is 7 on the way, and well, you can imagine that right now for Reece Watt, it's going to be about trying to maintain that advantage for as long as possible. The Aztec Racing driver Toby Prosser will need to keep one eye on Stuart Winus, who's right behind him, only by 6 points, and Ben Gregory as well, who's not too far behind. And Matthew Sheraton, meanwhile, will be looking to bring up the rear of the top 5 and looking to try and chase them down as he goes with 356 points. A point behind him is Sam Van Olst in P6, ahead of Russell Fowler, and Fowler's performances today, particularly in races 1 and 2, netted him a huge haul and enabling him to move into the top 10 and comfortably inside it. Only a point ahead of Kieran Smart, the Track Scotland driver, having a nightmare day in race 1 in particular, and it's Duncan Rise and Sam Smith completing the top 10. Alan McCain sits P11 best of the rest, ahead of Lewis Delmont, with Sam Bradley, Matt Emmons and Michael East completing your Pro-Am top 15. And coming to the AM class, last but not least, here we can see Gabriel Yilmaz is your leader by 5 points over Josh Brown, with the 2 drivers having very different results compared to previous rounds. Marcel Fritsch in P3 continues to hold on to P3 on 370 points, but I think he'll be feeling as though he needs his time to shine and take the lead of the championship, and Kevin Smith, not able to build on that momentum from Portugal, sits in P4 and knowing that he needs more on the table, much like his Verano Academy teammate. Mark Sykes has moved from P9 to P5 on 353 points, massively helped by the victory in both races 1 and 3, with fortune coming to his favour in race 3, but outright pace and strong qualifying performance in race 1 netted him well. Jonathan Collins just sitting behind his teammate there by the best part of what is 18 points. And it's Andy Chell, whose results today move into P7, and Eduardo Gonzaga moves into P8, these two very close together. Sammy Ariba, P9, and then it's Lewis Mason at top 10 completion there with that 10th place on 313 points and only behind Ariba based on result countback. In P11, it's Gabriel Papaconstantou, best the rest ahead of Jonathan Berry, with the result countback between the two being the difference. And it's Sean Doby, Craig Tillotson, Mark Kent and Dylan Hunter who complete the AM Championship standings. And then coming to the Teams Championship top 10, it's NXTGEN Pink who lead, and their advantage has slightly extended once again today, now to 276 points over Doble Sim Racing. But note, Doble Sim Racing have moved back into P2 ahead of SO and NXTGEN Gold, and it seems now to be a seesaw with regards to which of these two teams is the leading contender to chase down NXTGEN Pink. Both of them want to settle things down and close that gap, but could NXTGEN Pink come back into the second half of the season, knowing all they've got to do is keep extending their advantage, and they will be able to walk away with it. Goldwyn Motorsport sit in P4. They're not too far off of the top three now, and 414 points difference from our leaders, and well, there to SO and NXTGEN Gold, it is the best part there of only what is 92 points. But then behind them, it's Full Tilt V Motorsport, a further 61 off complete to the top 5. The Sim Racing Collective, they fall to P6, but they're hot on the heels of Full Tilt V Motorsport, with both teams suffering major blows in their campaigns today. NXTGEN Orange Risky Runners sit in P7. And they're only the best part of what is 8 points ahead of iRace Esports. There's Aztec Racing and Track Scotland, who separated by 33 points, bring out the rear of the top 10 in a close-knit battle, and they'll want to try and get back into that battle for the top 5 as soon as possible. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to know more about the NXTGEN racing community in terms of how you can be on the grid in the NXTCC or any of our other series as we run our way into 2025, or perhaps you just want to know more about what goes on behind the scenes and what NXTGEN racing is all about, well, for all that and more, we recommend you firstly visit our official website, and that's at www.nextgenracing.co.uk. And as our website appears on screen, the home of clean and fair sim racing for all, well, we've been hosting leagues and series for the best part of 17 years, and as we get ready to go into 2025, there's never been a better time to be a member of the NXTGEN racing community. And on our website, you can find out all the details of our leagues, the standings, and how to join the official Discord, which is the beating heart of the NXTGEN racing community. So therefore, then the website is the #1 place to go to. But if you don't want to go to our website, and you're more of a social media person perhaps, we do recommend you go to our official Facebook group, and that's at facebook.com/groups/NXTGEN Racing, where you can find out more about the guys and girls who make up the NXTGEN Racing staff and admin teams, including what they do not just on the virtual racing circuit, but also on the real life circuit, with a number of our staff members being real life racing drivers, if not real life track stewards and marshals. We'd also like to take a moment then to say a big thank you to our sponsors, who we could not do things without, and that includes PowerMax, Next Level Racing, Mark Sykes Designs, Joyce Design, Douglas Motorsport, Sam Cases UK, Only Racing, Falcon PC Builds and Support, and Benji Sim Photos. And of course, we must give an extra thank you to our title sponsor for this season, our ongoing partnership with Doble Motorcycles. And well, if you're a big fan of the power of dreams when it comes to machinery on two wheels, and that being by Honda, and if you're looking for the #1 Honda motorcycle dealer in the United Kingdom, then look no further than Doble Motorcycles. As the family runs business with its rich racing history throughout 3 generations, as currently embodied by Mikey Doble Racing and Mikey Chasing Glory in the BTCC, well, you know you're going to get an absolutely brilliant bit of customer service from Doble Motorcycles, from lights out to checker flag. To find out more and how you today can get your hands on your next two-wheeled machine or ATV by Honda, do head to Doble Motorcycles website at doble.co.uk. That website again, doble.co.uk. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, well, that wraps up the first half of the season, because now we head into our mid-season break. We're off for 2 weeks here at NXTGEN Racing in the NXTCC, because next week it'll be Christmas Eve and then Christmas Day, and the week after, well, it'll be New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and we can't race on those because it's only fair that all the drivers and all our staff have the opportunity to celebrate Christmas and ushering in of 2025. But when we do return, save the date in your diary. It will be for round number 5 on Tuesday, the 7th of January, and that should say 2025 there. Indeed, we're not going to reset and restart 2024. We're going to be going straight into 2025, and when we come back, we're coming back at the one and only the Nürburgring Gesamtstrecke, or the Nürburgring Combined, where all of our drivers will be out there looking to do battle with a circuit that's just as much about surviving the circuit and keeping it on the tarmac as it is about finding the ultimate pace. And And remember, it will be our sprint feature combination round, the first of our 2 special rounds of this season. So it will be a round where our drivers will be absolutely pushed to the limit from the outset. But who will have had too much Christmas dinner and too much turkey, and who will return to absolutely streamlined ways of victory? Well, for all that and more, join us next time on Tuesday, the 7th of January 2025 to find out how the story continues in Season 8 of the NXTCC. Until then, we've been Next Gen Racing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Brit the Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, we wish you a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. Enjoy the run of the Christmas holidays, ladies and gentlemen. Have a fantastic time off. And if you're working, we feel for you and we're there for you. And we wish you all the merriness in Christmas that you can have. And we will see you in 2025. But until then, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay merry, stay smiling, and most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, that's all from us here at Next Gen Racing, the home of clean and fair sim racing for all.